Chapter 559. Fortunately, I'm not too late. Sun Jiuxiao and the others had joined forces with Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong to kill the two peak emperors. Qin Yu's appearance changed and he returned to Shen Feng's appearance. There are other divine herbs in here. Seeing this, Shi Tiangang heaved a sigh of relief and quickly took out a Sumeru ring. At this time, Sun Jiuxiao and the other emperors from the Sky Emperor Palace also flew over. Sun Jiuxiao and Shi Yuntian were fine as they already knew about Qin Yu's identity as a reincarnator. However, the other sovereigns were extremely shocked. They all looked at Qin Yu with reverence in their eyes. This is not a place to stay for long. Let's leave this place first. Sun Jiuxiao said. The refinement of the immortal emperor pills was imminent. However, they had just experienced a great battle and needed to rest. Especially Shi Tiangang, who had most likely injured his source. Qin Yu nodded and put away the heaven-refining cauldron before immediately flying away from the lake. Qin Yu and the others hid in the depths of a barren mountain. Dragon Soul. After setting up barriers around the area, Qin Yu did not start refining the immortal emperor pills. Instead, he spoke to the Dragon Soul. Space-time mirage. The Dragon Soul quickly formed seals with both hands as a tyrannical space-time fluctuation spread out and seeped into the void. Immediately, a shocking scene appeared. A brand new void quickly became an immortal. Although it was only a few feet wide, Shi Tiangang, Sun Jiuxiao, and even Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong were dumbfounded. This kind of profound spatial control was simply heaven-shaking. This was the new divine ability that the Dragon Soul had comprehended when it advanced to the Emperor realm, the space-time mirage. I'll leave it to you. Qin Yu said to the Dragon Soul, Pan Hong, and Tai Shu Kong before directly entering the void. The Dragon Soul's hand seals changed and the void immediately hid in the void. The Dragon Soul and the other two were like three divine guards, guarding three directions in the void. Shi Tiangang and the others sat cross-legged on the ground, seizing the time to recover from their injuries. As for the reason why Qin Yu entered the void, they also knew. The immortal qi of the immortal spiritual grass was too unique. Even if the immortal spirit grass was completely sealed, some special secret techniques could still detect the fluctuations of immortal qi. Therefore, entering the void space to refine the immortal emperor pills was the most appropriate method. Whoosh! After entering the void space, Qin Yu directly entered the ancient dragon god seal. Only the divine dragon ancient seal floated quietly in this void space. Not letting the divine dragon ancient seal be exposed was Qin Yu's real goal. After all, the immortal emperor pellet was a true immortal pellet. If he wanted to refine it, it would be impossible for him to succeed in just a few days. But now, there wasn't enough time for Qin Yu to refine it. No one knew if the ancient emperors outside would rush in on a whim. Therefore, Qin Yu must enter the divine dragon ancient seal and borrow the Dragon Soul's 20 times faster time flow. Refine. With a thought, the Medicine King's divine cauldron appeared. Qin Yu then took out Shi Tiangang's spatial ring. In the spatial ring, the rainbow immortal Chiline's blood, the desolate divine phoenix bone, and the 9 underworld yellow springs water appeared. The golden heaven incinerating fire burned in the Medicine King's divine cauldron. Qin Yu threw the 3 divine herbs into the cauldron in an orderly manner. Even the golden heaven incinerating fire took a full 4 months to completely refine the 3 divine herbs. Looking at the 3 balls of different colors, crystal clear and without any impurities, Qin Yu didn't put the immortal spirit grass in. Instead, he guided the immortal spirit grass's immortal qi spiritual liquid into the Medicine King's divine cauldron. The immortal spirit grass was a true immortal medicine. The majestic energy it contained far surpassed the other 3 divine herbs. Qin Yu naturally couldn't refine the immortal spirit grass with the 3 divine herbs directly. Kai. As the immortal spirit grass's immortal qi spiritual liquid merged with the 3 divine herbs' immortal qi spiritual liquid, an extremely special fluctuation was emitted from the Medicine King's divine cauldron. It can't be a pill tribulation, right? Qin Yu's brows twitched slightly. In his previous life, he had refined quite a number of divine and immortal pills. He knew that when some heaven-defying spiritual pills were refined, there would be a heavenly lightning tribulation. After thinking for a while, Qin Yu felt that there shouldn't be a heavenly lightning tribulation in this double void secret realm. Otherwise, the golden heaven incinerating dragon would be able to undergo a heavenly lightning tribulation. Under Qin Yu's wholehearted concentration, Qin Yu began to fuse. The 4 spiritual liquids in the Medicine King's divine cauldron were fusing at an extremely slow speed. The ratio of the 4 divine herbs had to reach a perfect balance before they could completely fuse into a pill. If there was a slight mistake, the cauldron would most likely explode. If it was an ordinary alchemist, even an emperor-level alchemist, they definitely wouldn't dare to refine all 3 divine herbs like Qin Yu did. For safety's sake, most alchemists would split and refine the same spiritual material. Although the effect of the medicine would be a little weak, if they failed, they could start all over again. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. Under Qin Yu's continuous introduction of the immortal spiritual herbs' immortal qi spiritual liquid, the spiritual liquids of the 4 divine herbs finally fused completely and took the shape of a pill. Sizzle. At this time, the special fluctuation in the Medicine King's divine cauldron became more and more intense. This made Qin Yu secretly vigilant. It seemed that the heavenly lightning tribulation of the immortal emperor pill was very likely unable to be concealed even in this double void secret realm. At this time, in the barren mountain, the dragon soul, who was on high alert, suddenly changed its expression. What's wrong? Pam Hong and Taishu Kong looked at the dragon soul together. Shi Tiangang and the rest of the Sky Emperor Palace also looked over. Retreat quickly. After sensing for a while, the dragon soul's expression suddenly changed, and it immediately flew away with Pam Hong and the rest. Boom! Pam Hong, Taishu Kong, Shi Tiangang, and the rest were a little confused. In the void where Qin Yu had disappeared, an earth-shattering explosion sounded, and a fluctuation that seemed to be able to destroy heaven and earth exploded. In an instant, the barren mountain completely disappeared. If the dragon soul and the rest had reacted a little slower, they would have definitely been affected. Rumble. Immediately after, a terrifying sound of thunder rang out, and the sky immediately turned pitch black. The shocking scene of lightning and thunder immediately appeared. The terrifying pressure that seemed to even freeze the air made it difficult for them to breathe. Seeing this scene, Shi Tiangang was stunned for a moment, and his face suddenly became wild with joy. The heavenly lightning tribulation of the formation pill. Master, you succeeded so quickly. Pam Hong and Taishu Kong also recognized it. Since the heavenly lightning tribulation of the formation pill had appeared, it meant that Qin Yu had succeeded in refining the pill. Next, he just needed to pass the heavenly lightning tribulation. Heaven refining divine cauldron. In the void, Qin Yu did not take out the array that he had used to prevent the heavenly lightning tribulation. Instead, he directly took out the heaven refining divine cauldron. There was no reason not to use a ready-made divine weapon. Rumble. In the next moment, the lightning in the sky suddenly struck. The target of all the lightning was the immortal emperor pill that was covered by the heaven refining divine cauldron. This is heavenly lightning tribulation. When the heavenly lightning tribulation appeared, outside the double void secret realm, Emperor Luan, Emperor God Shen Yu, Great Eye Lord, and the rest of the ancient emperors who were meditating felt something. Chapter 560. No, this fluctuation, this seems to be the pill tribulation. Could it be that an immortal pill is forming in this sealed world? Northern Emperor Luan and the others were indeed ancient emperors. They immediately realized that it was the pill formation tribulation. They looked at each other. Obviously, they were tempted, but they did not make a move. With their cultivation, if they were to make a move, this dual void secret realm might collapse. At that time, no one would be able to get the immortal spirit herbs and other treasures. It would be better to let the cultivators fight for them. Lightning tribulation? This dual void secret realm shouldn't have heaven and earth lightning tribulation. Could it be that some treasure is about to appear? Let's go and take a look. In the sealed world, countless Emperor Realm cultivators who were searching for the immortal spirit herbs also sensed the lightning tribulation. Although there was no fluctuation of the immortal spirit herbs, many Emperor Realm cultivators immediately rushed over. After all, not all forces were here for the immortal spirit herbs. Some forces knew that they could not get the immortal spirit herbs, so they went straight for other treasures. Refine. At this time, the immortal Emperor Pill's lightning tribulation was almost over. Qin Yu took out the heaven refining cauldron and refined the lightning into lightning energy for the purple lightning divine firmament dragon to absorb and strengthen its cultivation. Palace Master Shi, you should still remember the refining method of the immortal Emperor Pill, right? Qin Yu kept the heaven refining cauldron and handed the immortal Emperor Pill, which was covered in pill veins and surrounded by immortal qi, to Shi Tiangang. Of course, Shi Tiangang could not hide his excitement. He took the immortal Emperor Pill like it was a treasure. Although there was only one immortal Emperor Pill, only one of the descendants of the three emperors could consume it and reignite their bloodline power. Then, they could use a secret technique to reignite the bloodline power of the other descendants of the three emperors. Sun Jiuxiao, Shi Tianyun, and the others were also very excited. Although they had paid a huge price to come to the middle ground sacred realm, it had come to a successful conclusion. If that's the case, I will take my leave. Be careful, Qin Yu said. In the future, if you need my heavenly imperial palace's help, we will do it. Shi Tiangang was not surprised. When Qin Yu called him Palace Lord Shi, Shi Tiangang knew that Qin Yu would not return to Sky Imperial Palace. Although Qin Yu had obtained the divine abilities of the three sovereigns, refining the immortal Emperor Pill was equivalent to giving the descendants of the three sovereigns a chance to be reborn. The glory of the three sovereigns, who ruled over the ancient times, would definitely reappear on their bodies. Don't worry. If something really happens, I won't hold back. Qin Yu glanced at Shi Tiangang and the others before turning around and walking towards Long Hun and the others. Truth be told, the reason why Qin Yu helped the Imperial Palace of Heaven was not only because he had obtained the legacy of the Imperial Palace of Heaven. Another reason was because Shi Tiangang and the others possessed enormous potential. Although his combat strength was not strong enough now, it was hard to say in the future. Having an ally with great potential was definitely not a bad thing for Qin Yu. Immediately, Qin Yu took the three of them and flew away. Let's find a place to refine the immortal Emperor Pills. Shi Tiangang did not hesitate and immediately left with Sun Jiuxiao, Shi Tianyun, and the others. Now, it's time to move. After leaving Sister Dan's area, Long Hun asked Qin Yu. The proper business is done. It's time to move. Qin Yu nodded slightly, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong did not know what Qin Yu and Long Hun were talking about, so they both looked at Long Hun. Hunt down the people of the 12 ancient emperors. Long Hun's voice was cold. Before entering the secret realm, Qin Yu already had this idea. Although it was difficult for a top-notch sovereign to deal with the 12 ancient emperors, it would not cause any serious damage. However, since there was an opportunity to weaken their forces, Qin Yu naturally would not let it go. Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong's killing intent surged when they heard that. Spread out. Send out the signal when you find them. In the void, Qin Yu said to Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong. The three of them immediately split up to carry out their tasks. However, not long after flying out, Qin Yu's expression suddenly changed. With a thought, the skeleton Ghost King appeared. After devouring the Emperor Blood Qi of the profound Feather Divine Dynasty and the phaseless Sacred Land, the skeleton Ghost King officially advanced to the 8th grade Emperor realm. However, its physique did not continue to grow. Its bones continued to solidify and strengthen, and its height was only 2 meters tall. In addition, flesh and blood grew on its body, and it looked no different from an ordinary cultivator. Although the skeleton Ghost King had flesh and blood, its eyes and aura had not changed at all. In Qin Yu's view, the flesh and blood that the skeleton Ghost King had grown was more like a cover for the desolate beast marks on its bones. You don't want to stay in the Sumeru ring anymore? Qin Yu and the skeleton Ghost King had a contract, so he naturally understood what it meant. After thinking about it, Qin Yu agreed to let the skeleton Ghost King follow him in this form. After all, the skeleton Ghost King had now reached the 8th grade Emperor realm and had enough power to protect itself. Found it. After flying for more than 4 hours, Qin Yu's eyes lit up. Not long after, Qin Yu appeared in a barren area. In that area, a chaotic battle was taking place. 19 Emperor Realm Masters were fighting over a 10,000-year Saint Herb. 4 Symbols Tao Sect. Qin Yu hid in the dark and observed. Among those emperors, there were 12 top emperors. They were Qin Yu's enemies in his previous life, one of the 12 ancient emperors, the 4 Symbols Tao Emperor. The opponents of the 4 Symbols Tao sect and the other emperors were also from a great force in the central continent, the profound Cloud Holy Land. However, the 4 Symbols Tao Emperor and the others had an absolute advantage in numbers, and the emperors of the profound Cloud Holy Land were completely suppressed. As expected, the 10,000-year Saint Herb would fall into the hands of the 4 Symbols Tao sect and the others. After watching for a while, Qin Yu quietly left. He stopped at a place 100 miles away from where he was. Wong wong wong. Qin Yu waved his right hand and several array flags flew into the sky and merged into the surrounding void. Then, 2 teleportation talismans burned. In the next moment, 2 teleportation arrays appeared around Qin Yu. Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong had teleported over. All 3 of them had teleportation talismans on them. Whoever discovered the target just needed to use a secret technique to teleport over immediately. Get ready to move. After the arrangement was completed, the sealed immortal spirit herb appeared in Qin Yu's hand. The dragon soul, Pan Hong, Tai Shu Kong, and the skeleton ghost king all disappeared into the void. Disperse. Qin Yu immediately dispersed the seal on the immortal spirit herb. A vast wave of immortal qi swept out like a hurricane. In an instant, all the Emperor Realm Masters within a few thousand kilometers felt the immortal spirit herb's fluctuation. The fish has taken the bait. Sensing the fluctuation of the 4 Symbols Tao sect and the others, Qin Yu's eyes flashed coldly and he quietly disappeared. Only the immortal spirit herb floated quietly in the air. Shio 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 shio. After familiarizing himself with the time, the sound of something breaking through the air came from all directions. Those people were the 4 Symbols Tao sect and the profound Cloud Holy Land, who were fighting for the 10,000-year Saint Herb. They were the closest to this place, so naturally, they arrived faster. Chapter 561. It's really an immortal spirit herb. The immortal spirit herb exuded a dense mist-like immortal qi in the void. The eyes of the Emperor Realm Masters from the 4 Symbols Daoist sect lit up as they were overjoyed. They had not expected that the immortal spirit herb that they had been searching for so long would appear here. Quick, seal it. Don't let it escape. Seeing that the immortal spirit herb seemed to be frightened and showed signs of escaping, the 4 Symbols Daoist sect's people immediately flew over. Go. The Emperor Realm Masters from the profound Cloud Sacred Ground also rushed out without hesitation. You're courting death. Stop them. The leader of the 4 Symbols Daoist sect's people was a white-haired old man in a Daoist robe. When he saw the profound Cloud Sacred Ground's people intervening, a ruthless and gloomy look appeared in his eyes as he spoke with murderous intent. Immediately, 5 top-notch Emperor Realm Masters from the 4 Symbols Holy Land attacked the profound Cloud Sacred Grounds people. A violent battle that could destroy heaven and earth appeared again. The earth cracked and the sky changed color. Got it. The white-haired old man appeared in front of the immortal spirit herb in an instant. He was so excited that his body trembled. He immediately cast a secret technique to seal the immortal spirit herb. However, in the next moment, a scene that shocked the 4 Symbols Daoist sect's people appeared. The immortal spirit herb that was sealed by the secret technique turned into bubbles and disappeared before their eyes. The 4 Symbols Daoist sect's people did not know what was going on. Rumble. That is, the heaven refining cauldron? North Emperor Luan's divine weapon? Damn it. What's going on? The Emperor Realm Masters from the 4 Symbols Daoist sect and the profound Cloud Sacred Ground, who were fighting fiercely, could not help but stop when they felt the supreme pressure that made their souls tremble. They looked up and saw a giant cauldron that covered the sky that had turned into a sea of flames. The giant fire cauldron was like an ancient god that could suppress the 9 heavens and 10 earths. North Emperor Sect. The white-haired old man in a Daoist robe revealed a look of realization. The only ones who could control the heaven-refining divine cauldron, other than Northern Emperor Luan, were the martial artists of Northern Qing sect. Suddenly, a monstrous killing intent swept out. The people from the Four Symbols Daoist Gate and the profound cloud sacred ground all looked over. In the sea of flames in the heaven refining divine cauldron, several figures appeared and stared at them with cold killing intent. That's the burning god emperor, Li Fenshen. The eyes of the white-haired old man in Daoist robes lit up when he saw a person with a mighty aura among the group of people. He immediately recognized this person. The burning god emperor, Li Fenshen, was the disciple of Northern Emperor Yuan. The disappearance of the immortal spiritual grass was caused by Qingbei sect. The people from the Four Symbols Daoist sect were not the only ones who recognized Li Fenshen. The sovereigns from the Xianyun Holy Land also recognized him. This dual void secret realm was discovered by our sect's Grand Emperor, so the immortal spirit herb naturally belongs to our Qingbei sect. You ants actually want to get your hands on it. You really don't know the meaning of death. As if to confirm the thoughts in their hearts, the leader, Li Fenshen, spoke coldly. As he spoke, he moved his right hand, and the sealed immortal spiritual grass appeared. Needless to say, this Li Fenshen was Qin Yu in disguise. The few sovereigns from the Qingbei sect beside Qin Yu were Long Hun, Pan Hong, Taishu Kong, and the Skeleton Ghost King. Die. Without waiting for the people from the Four Symbols Daoist sect and the profound cloud sacred ground to speak, Qin Yu imitated Li Fenshen's appearance and charged out with Long Hun and the others. Me. Do you think you can deal with us just because you have an ancient divine weapon in your hands? Great. Let's kill them and take the immortal spirit herb. The white-haired old man in Daoist robes and the other sovereigns from the Four Symbols Daoist sect were enraged when they saw the people from the Qingbei sect being so arrogant. Berserk and terrifying Daoist technique energy burst forth, rushing toward Qin Yu and the others. Seeing the battle between the Four Symbols Daoist sect and the Qingbei sect, the people from the profound cloud sacred ground and the others were not in a hurry to make a move. If both sides suffered heavy losses, they naturally did not mind reaping the benefits. Let's act according to plan. A cold smile appeared on the corner of Qin Yu's mouth. The profound formation patterns on his palm were slightly trembling. Immediately, the mysterious array flags that had been set up in the void rumbled and appeared, forming an ancient divine array that covered the sky. Item manipulation technique, unseal. At the same time, Qin Yu formed a seal with his hands and the seal on the heaven refining cauldron was completely unsealed. A vast pressure that could shatter the heavens and earth descended. The pressure is so terrifying. The sovereigns from the Four Symbols Daoist sect, who were originally filled with murderous intent, were all shocked. The pressure of the heaven refining cauldron was far beyond their expectations. Under such pressure, their combat strength was reduced by at least 30 to 40%. The divine weapon has been completely unsealed. How is this possible? As a major force with an ancient emperor, the sovereigns from the Four Symbols Daoist sect naturally knew that the power of the heaven refining cauldron had been completely unsealed. That was why the sovereigns from the Four Symbols Daoist sect were so shocked. Because this was something that only an ancient emperor expert could do. Rumble. Qin Yu and the others ignored the shock of the Four Symbols Daoist sect's people and continued to attack. Under the combined pressure of the heaven refining cauldron and the sky-shrouding ancient town, the Four Symbols Daoist sect's people were immediately dealt a devastating blow. This scene was not much different from the destruction of the Xuanyu Divine Dynasty's people. In fact, it was even more thorough. After all, compared to the situation when they were dealing with the Xuanyu Divine Dynasty's people, Qin Yu and the others now had the absolute advantage and had made many preparations in advance. The battle strength of the Qingbei sect's people is so terrifying. Have they reached the level of divine sovereigns? It's an ancient divine weapon. They can completely unseal the power of the divine weapon. The sovereigns from the mystic domain sacred land and the other sovereigns, who had wanted to take advantage of the situation, saw the Four Symbols Daoist sect's people being slaughtered like chickens and ducks. They all stared blankly, their faces pale, and cold sweat dripped down their faces. Quick, think of a way to leave now. The Four Symbols Daoist sect's people, who had been suppressing them, fell one after another at the hands of Qin Yu and the others. The leader of the profound cloud sacred land's peak sovereigns came back to his senses and immediately ordered. From the looks of it, It was only a matter of time before the Four Symbols Daoist sect's people were wiped out. When the Four Symbols Daoist sect's people were wiped out, it would be their turn. The profound Cloud Sacred Lands people immediately spread out and searched for a way to escape from the Heaven Refining Cauldron. Soon, the profound Cloud Sacred Lands people silently disappeared from the Heaven Refining Cauldron. They have already left. We can go all out now. Controlling the Heaven Refining Cauldron, Qin Yu used the Heaven Refining Cauldron, mixed the ancient divine power with the golden flame heaven incinerating fire, and used the divine fire palm to severely injure a peak sovereign. Seeing the profound Cloud Sacred Lands people leave, Xiao Chen's expression did not change at all. He even smiled. Everything was going according to his plan. Chapter 562. Roar. The dragon soul was the first to erupt as it let out a deafening roar. The bloodthirsty slaughter prison erupted as a sea of blood engulfed the members of the Four Symbols Daoist sects. The skeleton Ghost King's reaction wasn't slow either, as he used the boundless 10,000 beasts. Countless wild beast phantoms swept across the sky and shook the heavens and earth. Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong also used their strongest moves. Their silver halberds stirred up the wind and clouds as their sharp sword intent wreaked havoc and destruction. Qin Yu and the others went all out. The white-haired old man and the other members of the Four Symbols Daoist sects suffered heavy injuries once again and were in an even more dangerous situation. These aren't divine abilities or secret techniques of Northern Qing sect. Only now did the white-haired old man realize that Qin Yu and the others weren't cultivators of Northern Qing sect. This made them extremely shocked as they didn't know what was going on. After all, Qin Yu and the others were controlling the Heaven Refining Divine Cauldron. Rumble. Qin Yu and the others didn't care about the shock of the members of the Four Symbols Daoist sects as they unleashed their killing moves one after another. Not long after, the members of the Four Symbols Daoist sects were all killed by them. It's about time to leave. After the battle ended, Qin Yu put away the Five Gods Heaven Subduing Array and the Heaven Refining Divine Cauldron. At this moment, thousands of Emperor Realm Masters were approaching from all directions. Relying on the concealment of the illusory array, Qin Yu and the others disappeared through the teleportation array. There are indeed immortal spirit grass fluctuations here. Apart from that, there are also the remnant auras of more than 20 peak Emperor Realm Masters. Damn it, someone beat us to it. Who exactly is it? As the divine might spread, the Heaven Refining Divine Cauldron that covered the sky disappeared. The Emperor Realm Masters who sensed the fluctuations of the immortal spirit grass and gathered here quickly came to the place where Qin Yu killed the members of the Four Symbols Daoist sects. However, other than the incomparably messy earth and the chaotic and destroyed void, they were destined to not discover anything. The news that the immortal spirit grass had been snatched quickly spread through the dual void-sealed world. This made the forces with ancient Emperor Realm Masters take action immediately. They wanted to know which force to find the immortal spirit grass. However, after half a day, a shocking piece of news came. He controlled the Northern sect, controlled the ancient divine weapon, killed more than 10 venerable sovereigns of the Four Symbols sect, and stole the immortal spirit grass. This news swept across the entire dual void secret realm like a tornado. Countless Emperor Realm Masters set out to search for Qing Bei sect's people. Of course, this news came from profound Cloud Holy Land, so naturally, many Emperor Realm Masters doubted its authenticity. After all, it wasn't very credible to say that he wielded an ancient divine weapon and killed more than 10 top-notch experts. Even the sovereign venerables like the Crimson Moon spiritual sect, which was comparable to the Four Symbols Tao Gate, were killed by the Heavenly Refining Divine Cauldron. Moreover, several great powers had witnessed it with their own eyes. Only then did the sovereign of this dual void secret realm confirm that the Burning God Sovereign, Li Fenshen, was in control of the North Monarch of Chaos and the Heaven Refining Divine Cauldron. He had annihilated several major forces that were trying to get their hands on the immortal spiritual herbs. All the major forces that were targeted by Li Fenshen were basically annihilated. On the contrary, many of the scattered venerable sovereigns did not kill the people of the Northern sect. Countless forces in the secret realm thought that Qing Bei sect was killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Those who dared to covet the immortal spiritual herbs would die without a burial place. However, This did not deter the top-notch venerable sovereigns. Many venerable sovereigns even formed an alliance to suppress the people of the northern sect. 3 days later, at the peak of a towering mountain. Now, there are only 3 great forces left: Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian, Great Sun Heavenly Emperor, and Monster Saint Wang Di, right? The dragon soul came out of the bloodthirsty heavenly dragon's body and said to Qin Yu. Around them, there were many dried-up remains, and a strong smell of blood permeated the air. Obviously, a great battle had just taken place here. If there were people from the central continent here, they would definitely recognize them. Those people were from Point Star Orthodoxy, one of the central continent's top forces. Point Star Orthodoxy was the supreme orthodoxy where the 7-star ancient emperor was from. Let's ignore the Great Sun Heavenly Emperor and Monster Saint Wang Di for now. Next, we will prepare to leave after we destroy the people of Ghost Emperor Holy Island. Qin Yu said slowly. In these 3 days, among the 11 ancient emperor forces, 8 of them had emperor realm masters. Qin Yu used the aura of the immortal spirit grass as bait to lure them. But until now, all the Emperor Realm forces in the dual void-sealed world believed that the ancient emperor was the culprit. The northern sect was the one who took the immortal spirit grass and killed the 4 symbols Dao sect, Point Star Orthodoxy, and other forces. With the heaven-refining divine cauldron, the symbolic divine artifact of the northern sect, Li Fenshen, and the others, who had died long ago, were the perfect scapegoats. This was also the reason why Qin Yu seized the heaven-refining divine cauldron. Originally, he just wanted to secretly eliminate the forces of the 12 ancient emperors. But after seeing the heaven-refining divine cauldron, Qin Yu changed his plan. That was why Qin Yu let the people of Xianyun Holy Land go that day. Otherwise, with his control, the people of Xianyun Holy Land would never be able to escape. Why? The Great Sun Heavenly Emperor and Monster Saint Wang Di don't have many people, so they can attack. Long Hun and Pan Hong both looked at Qin Yu, puzzled. If the forces of the 12 ancient emperors all die in this sealed world, I'm afraid it will arouse suspicion. As for who would be suspicious, it would naturally be Star Luo and the 12 ancient emperors. After all, some coincidences couldn't be too much. If they alerted the enemy, the gains wouldn't make up for the losses. Buzz. Buzz. At this moment, Qin Yu felt the teleportation talisman in his hand tremble slightly. Xiao Kong has found the people of Ghost Emperor Holy Island. Qin Yu's eyes lit up. He tapped the ground with his right hand and a large teleportation array appeared. As the light of the teleportation array flickered, all of them immediately disappeared. Master, the people of Ghost Emperor Holy Island are just ahead. In a spacious stone cave, Tai Shu Kong led Qin Yu and the others to a remote valley where the void was obviously chaotic. In the 1,000-mile-wide valley, there were many figures. They were the people of Ghost Emperor Holy Island. What are they doing? Pan Hong asked curiously when he saw the people of Ghost Emperor Holy Island teleporting back and forth in the center of the primordial era. It seemed like they were deploying something. I don't know either. Tai Shu Kong shook his head slightly. In order to avoid being detected, he didn't sneak closer to investigate. Qin Yu's eyes narrowed. There was a faint divine light in his eyes as he carefully sized up the people of Ghost Emperor Holy Island. Immediately, Qin Yu's eyes flashed with a strange light. He seemed to have discovered something. They seem to be deploying an array, and it seems to be resonating with the spatial fluctuations in the void. Long Hun said to Qin Yu after sensing it for a while. This is the immortal ancient teleportation array. After looking at it for a while, Qin Yu confirmed it. Immortal ancient teleportation array? Long Hun, Pan Hong, and Tai Shu Kong were all puzzled. They naturally knew about the teleportation array, but this was the first time they had heard of the immortal ancient teleportation array. Chapter 563. The immortal ancient teleportation array was used by the ancient immortals in the primordial age. They want to use this array to teleport the people from the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island directly. Qin Yu explained. To be honest, Qin Yu had only read about the immortal ancient teleportation array in a primordial secret book. It was his first time seeing a real immortal ancient teleportation array. The Ghost Emperor Sacred Island even had such a divine array. Their foundation was really amazing. This double void secret realm can teleport people in and out directly. The Dragon Soul and the other two were shocked. Emperor Luan and the other ancient emperors were guarding it to prevent the divine emperors and ancient emperors from escaping. If this secret realm could teleport people in and out, it would be meaningless for them to guard the entrance. We have to stop them. If Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian teleports here, it will be troublesome. Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong's faces changed slightly. Among the many ancient emperors, Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian was definitely one of the strongest. This could be seen from the fact that Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian could compete with Qin Yu in his previous life. If Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian was not strong enough, he would have been killed by Qin Yu in his previous life. No, this is a great opportunity. Qin Yu's eyes flashed coldly. If Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian teleported here, it would be a good thing for Qin Yu. With Qin Yu's current cultivation, he would have no chance of winning if he faced Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian directly. However, if they had made arrangements in advance and were in such a geographical location, the situation would be completely different. Hearing Qin Yu's words, not only Pan Hong and Tai Shu Kong, but even the Dragon Soul, who knew Qin Yu well, was surprised. There was a saying in the heaven domain. Only ancient emperors could kill ancient emperors. If Qin Yu wanted to kill ancient emperors with the strength of a peak emperor, they would definitely scoff at it. But Qin Yu was different. Since Qin Yu said so, he must have a countermeasure. The situation was just as the Dragon Soul trio had expected. Qin Yu really had an idea in his heart. Immediately, Qin Yu told the three of them about the plan in detail. The sovereigns of the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island were about to finish setting up the array. Time was of the essence, and Dragon Soul's trio did not have the time to make any deductions. After hearing Qin Yu's words, they immediately set out to deploy. How is it? At this moment, the Ghost Emperor Holy Island and the others who had finished setting up the array had already gathered in the center of the valley. The leader of the group was a red-haired man. His muscles were like dragons, and he exuded a terrifying power that could suppress one's soul. The formation has been completed. A Peak Emperor Realm Master said. Then prepare to activate the teleportation array. Hearing this, the red-haired man took out an ancient token. As the Tao art and true essence fused into it, the restriction on the ancient token was broken. A dark speck of light appeared on the ancient token and disappeared in an instant. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Not long after, the ancient token immediately trembled slightly, and mysterious runes filled the air. The red-haired man's eyes suddenly lit up, and he quickly threw the ancient token into the immortal ancient teleportation array. Immediately, beams of mysterious light were emitted from the ancient token. Each beam of light was connected to a point in the immortal ancient teleportation array. Activate the array. In the next moment, the red-haired man's hands formed a seal as he shouted. The vast true essence in his body swept up the power of the Tao art and poured into the immortal ancient teleportation array. The other sovereigns of the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island also took action. The mysterious runes on the immortal ancient teleportation array lit up with dazzling divine light. Swish, swish, swish. Soon, figures flew out from the teleportation portal. There were more than 100 of them. Among those who were teleported, the 10 leaders had surpassed the peak sovereigns and entered the divine sovereign realm. There were no divine sovereigns in the spiritual state, but the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island had 10 of them. One could imagine how terrifying the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island's foundation was. These divine sovereigns were the main reason why the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island could stand tall in the central state. What's the situation now? The divine sovereigns asked immediately after they were teleported. Elder, according to the accurate information, the immortal spirit grass has fallen into the hands of the northern sect. The red-haired man said respectfully. Although there was only a slight difference between a peak sovereign realm and a divine sovereign realm, there was a tremendous difference in strength and status. Where are the northern sect's people? A young-looking man with a weathered look in his eyes asked. They should still be in the secret realm now. The red-haired man said. Should? The divine sovereigns frowned. The northern sect's people have been plundering the treasures in the secret realm because they have an ancient divine weapon. Although their whereabouts are unknown now, they should still be in the secret realm. Someone saw them yesterday. The red-haired man quickly replied. Find them immediately. We have to leave before the northern sect's people react. Otherwise, all our efforts will be in vain if we attract their attention. The divine sovereigns of the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island said as they prepared to leave the valley. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Suddenly, a dazzling light beam fell from the sky like a meteor shower, forming a huge array that covered the sky. The entire valley was immediately enveloped by it. Who is it? The divine sovereigns of the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island immediately reacted. Someone was secretly targeting them. This caused the divine sovereigns to be filled with murderous intent. This fluctuation, but in the next moment, the man with the weathered eyes looked surprised. He looked over and saw an ancient divine cauldron surrounded by flames slowly rotating and falling somewhere in the huge ancient array that covered the sky. It's the heaven-refining divine cauldron. That means the northern sect's people are attacking us. The divine sovereigns recognized the heaven-refining divine cauldron at a glance. Oh no. But then, the man with the weathered eyes seemed to have sensed something. His expression changed drastically as he quickly looked around the void. Unbeknownst to them, the space in the valley they were in had become distorted. The extremely unstable spatial fluctuations could even be seen with the naked eye. This void is going to collapse. Retreat! The man with the weathered eyes quickly shouted, informing the people of the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island to prepare to retreat. Boom! But almost at the same time, an earth-shattering explosion resounded. A destructive fluctuation swept out from the heaven-refining divine cauldron surrounded by flames. Immediately, spatial cracks appeared in the void with the heaven-refining divine cauldron as the center. Those cracks were like a spiderweb, quickly spreading in all directions and filling the entire void of the valley in an instant. Damn it! The weathered man, who was about to fly away, had an extremely ugly look on his face. He stopped in mid-air, not daring to move at all. The void around him was filled with countless spatial cracks. It was as if the entire space in this valley would collapse and be destroyed if he touched it lightly. Chapter 564. Break. When the valley was filled with countless spatial cracks, a soft shout suddenly sounded. The ancient runes on the heaven-refining divine cauldron suddenly exploded, and raging flames swept out like a river. In the next moment, the spatial cracks in the valley were filled with raging flames. Immediately, under the horrified gazes of the divine sovereigns and peak sovereigns from the Ghost Emperor Holy Island, the spatial cracks that were filled with flames suddenly shattered. The valley, which was thousands of miles wide, turned into a pitch-black void turbulence. Directly broke the secret realm's spatial wall. The Ghost Emperor Holy Island and the others who were trapped in the void turbulence froze in horror. This double void secret realm was already extremely unstable, and now the spatial wall was broken. If something went wrong, the entire secret realm would collapse completely. Do you think you can deal with us with this method? Heaven's suppressing talisman. The man with the weathered eyes and the other divine sovereigns all performed their ultimate moves. The 10 of them each took out a pitch-black ancient talisman surrounded by ghostly runes. When the ancient talisman was crushed, a vast and unparalleled emperor's aura spread out. A phantom that was hundreds of feet tall shielded all of them. The emperor's aura contained in the phantom was as shocking as it was real. Even the chaotic streams of space couldn't shake it in the slightest. It was a power that was above the chaotic void turbulence. What a pity! This was originally a gift for the heaven-suppressing Ghost Emperor. Outside the valley, Qin saw the broken immortal ancient teleportation array and knew that the heaven-suppressing Ghost Emperor would not come. Crack! Immediately, Qin formed a seal with both hands, and a vast divine power fluctuation appeared in the heaven-refining divine cauldron. Clear cracks appeared on the heaven-refining divine cauldron. Could it be? At this moment, even the 10 divine sovereigns' eyes were filled with fear. The cracks on the heaven-refining divine cauldron had already made them guess what was going to happen next. Boom! Sure enough, an earth-shattering explosion sounded. The heaven-refining divine cauldron exploded, and a destructive wave swept through the void of the entire valley. The originally dark and chaotic void turbulence had completely turned into a sea of flames. The phantom image that the ghost Emperor Holy Island and the others had set up shattered instantly. All of them were covered by the surging flames, and not a single trace of them could be seen. Go. Seeing this, Qin Yu immediately took out a teleportation talisman and teleported away with the Dragon Soul trio. Rumble. Almost at the same time Qin Yu's group of 4 teleported away, a rolling sea of fire covered the sky and covered the earth. The divine array that Qin Yu had set up in the valley was immediately shattered, and the raging flames swept away. An area of several tens of thousands of li was completely destroyed. Countless creatures lost their lives, and the divine flames continued to burn for a long time. Even a divine emperor would not be able to withstand the power of an ancient divine weapon's explosion, let alone a top-notch emperor. At the entrance of the dual void secret realm, several ancient emperors were sitting cross-legged. North Emperor Luan's body slightly trembled, and a trace of extremely unstable chaotic energy came out of his body. Shock surfaced in North God Luan's eyes. Soon after, his face became extremely gloomy. The heaven refining cauldron could be said to be his natal divine treasure. Now that the heaven refining cauldron had exploded, it was impossible for him not to sense it. In fact, the explosion of the heaven refining cauldron had caused him to suffer from a severe backlash, but he immediately suppressed it. Emperor God Shen Yu, Emperor Taiyang, and the other ancient emperors could not help but look at North God Luan. Obviously, they had already noticed the abnormality in North God Luan. Whoosh! Without any hesitation, North God Luan immediately flashed and rushed toward the entrance of the secret realm. North God Luan, what are you trying to do? As a figure flashed, North God Luan was stopped. It was Emperor God Qian He, who had been guarding against North God Luan. Get out of my way! North God Luan's face was extremely gloomy. Monstrous killing intent erupted, and an extremely terrifying Dao power gathered. If it exploded, it would probably affect the entire holy region. Emperor God Qian He sneered, and he was not afraid at all. A huge divine crane that covered the sky appeared behind him. The divine crane let out a clear cry, and it gave off an ancient divine aura. Seeing this, the divine emperors from both sides were on high alert. A war between the two sects was about to break out at any time. North God Luan, we have a prior agreement. Don't you think this is a little inappropriate? Emperor God Shen Yu, Emperor Taiyang, Saint Master Pilheart, and the other ancient emperors stepped forward. There might be ancient emperors in the secret realm now. Looking at the numerous ancient emperors on the same battlefront, North Emperor Luan could only suppress his murderous intent, no matter how strong it was. He was not afraid of Emperor God Qian He, but he could not take on several ancient emperors alone. Ancient emperors? Emperor God Shen Yu, Emperor Taiyang, and the other ancient emperors were shocked. The secret realm's entrance is not only protected by a barrier, but also guarded by us. Even ancient emperors of the same level would not be able to sneak in. Emperor God Qian He said coldly. Emperor God Qian He is right. Emperor God Shen Yu and the others nodded. My Qingbei sect's people have all been killed. North God Luan's face darkened. Surprise flashed across the eyes of Sir God Qian He, Emperor God Shen Yu, and Emperor Taiyang. They naturally knew how many top sovereigns from Qingbei sect had infiltrated the secret realm. Even an ordinary divine emperor would not be able to wipe out all of Qingbei sect's people. It should be noted that a divine emperor could easily defeat or even kill a top-notch emperor without much effort. But to kill a large number of top sovereigns, one would have to set up a trap and trap everyone inside. Based on this, you are saying that ancient emperors have infiltrated the secret realm. Aren't you taking it too lightly? Can't it be that your Qingbei sect's people were too weak and were wiped out? Emperor God Qian He sneered. Looking at North God Luan's expression, something must have happened to Qingbei sect's people. However, it was a good thing that Qingbei sect had been wiped out. This meant that one of the strong competitors for the immortal spirit herb had been eliminated. Emperor God Shen Yu and the others did not speak, but they were also suspicious. North God Luan wanted to infiltrate the secret realm because he knew that no one would be able to compete for the immortal spirit herb. Before entering the secret realm, I handed the heaven refining cauldron to my disciple, but it was destroyed just now. North God Luan said with murderous intent, Even if you are not afraid of your people, aren't you worried that the immortal spirit herb will be taken away? The heaven refining cauldron was destroyed. Hearing North God Luon's words, they recalled the chaotic fluctuation that had appeared on North God Luon. Emperor God Xian Yu, Emperor Taiyang, and even Emperor God Qian He were shocked. If what North God Luon said was true, then an ancient emperor might have entered the secret realm. One had to know that only an ancient emperor could destroy an ancient divine weapon. Chapter 565. Let's go in and take a look. Emperor God Xuanyu, Emperor Taiyang, and the others looked at each other and made their decision. Just as Emperor Luon had said, they did not care about the lives of the top-tier sovereigns. However, they could not afford to lose the immortal spirit herb. Even Emperor God Qian He had no objections. Immediately, the ancient emperors led their divine sovereigns into the secret realm. Soon, Emperor Luon sensed the heaven-refining cauldron and came to the valley that had turned into spatial turbulence. As expected, Emperor Luon looked at the divine fire that burned for tens of thousands of miles. His murderous intent almost solidified, and even the air seemed to be frozen. Master, there's half a talisman here. A divine emperor seemed to have discovered something and shot over from somewhere in the ancient era. This is the aura of the ghost Emperor Zhentian. Emperor Luon took the talisman that had its ancient runes destroyed. After sensing it, his eyes narrowed. Could it be that the intruder was the ghost Emperor Zhentian? Master, something bad has happened. Right at this moment, another divine emperor flew over from the distant horizon, looking anxious. What happened? Emperor Luon's eyes twitched. He did not get the immortal spirit herb, and the heaven-refining cauldron was destroyed. Could there be something more serious than this? According to the news I just heard, Junior Brother took the immortal spirit herb from the Four Symbols Daoist sect with the heaven-refining cauldron you gave him, the divine sovereign hurriedly said. Did the ghost Emperor Zhentian target him because of the immortal spirit herb? Emperor Luon muttered to himself, his eyes filled with murderous intent. I heard that Junior Brother destroyed the Four Symbols Daoist sect, Xuanyu Divine Dynasty, Point Star Orthodoxy, and more than a dozen sovereigns after he got the immortal spirit herb. The divine sovereign said cautiously. Emperor Luon's face stiffened. This matter was completely out of his expectations. Even if it was for the immortal spirit herb, Li Fenshen had made too many enemies for the northern sect. One had to know that the people behind these forces all had ancient emperors backing them. Whoosh, whoosh. At this moment, waves of tyrannical aura came from all directions. The wind and clouds pressed down, and the sky trembled. It was as if a tornado was coming. Qingbei sect and the others were in the eye of the storm. North Emperor Luon's face darkened. Needless to say, he knew that Emperor God Xian Yu, Emperor Dian, and the others were there to denounce him. Or rather, it could be said that the accusation was fake. The real reason was that they coveted the immortal spirit herbs. However, the immortal spirit herb had already been snatched away by Ghost Emperor Zhentian. Now, they only had this tattered ancient talisman. Even if they told the truth, the ancient emperors might not believe them. At this moment, at the entrance of the mystic realm, ripples appeared in the void as four figures appeared. They were none other than Qin Yu, the Dragon Soul, Pan Hong, and Taishu Kong. They really did enter the secret realm. Looking at the entrance of the secret realm and the empty sacred ancient ruins, the Dragon Soul laughed. The explosion of the heaven-refining divine cauldron had indeed attracted the attention of the North Emperor and the others. Everything was going according to Qin Yu's plan. Let's go. With a glance, Qin Yu immediately left with Dragon Soul and the other two. Although Luon Bei Di and the other forces had already entered the secret realm, there were still divine emperors in the Saint Region ancient ruins. The moment they appeared, Qin Yu sensed no less than 10 secret techniques probing them. Fortunately, Qin Yu had already placed the immortal spirit grass and 9 suns divine flower into the divine dragon ancient seal. Let alone a divine emperor, even an ancient emperor would not be able to sense the treasures in the divine dragon ancient seal. In less than a quarter of an hour, Qin Yu had left the ruins of the Saint Realm and arrived at the border of the 9th divine realm in the central continent. At this point, Pan Hong and Taishu Kong were leading the way. They came to the middle continent from the east continent and the west continent, so they naturally had their own ways. 5 days later. Rumble. Rolling golden lightning gathered in the 9 heavens, covering a radius of 1,000 miles. It emitted a vast divine might of lightning, causing all living things to tremble in fear. In the rolling golden lightning, a huge dragon shadow was rolling, exuding a mighty dragon's might. It was the golden flame heavenly dragon undergoing the transformation lightning tribulation. Outside the golden lightning tribulation, the dragon's soul held the thunder-crossing immortal pill in its hand and quietly sensed the golden flame heavenly dragon's condition. As for Qin Yu, he was outside the lightning tribulation, in a mountain range a few hundred feet away. Tai Shu Kong sat cross-legged in front of Qin Yu, while Pam Hong was vigilant around. Qin Yu was stripping Tai Shu Kong of the ancient divine power in his body. Even so, Tai Shu Kong's cultivation would be greatly weakened. However, with the sword domain heavenly killing manual taught by Qin Yu, it would not take long for him to recover his cultivation to the peak of the sovereign realm. Qin Yu and the other 3 had left the central continent and entered the border of the east continent. Qin Yu's purpose in coming to the east continent was not to immediately set up a plan to deal with the enemy forces in the east continent. It was for Long Hao. Pam Hong and Tai Shu sealed Long Hao, who was under the ghost curse, in the Netherworld Cold Cave. The Netherworld Cold Cave was in the East Continent. In the past 5 days, the news of the immortal spirit herb in the Saint region of the Central Continent had spread throughout the 9 continents of the Heaven Realm. Until now, it was not clear which force the immortal spirit herb had fallen into. According to the forces that entered the secret realm, not only did the Qingbei sect snatch the immortal spirit herb, but they also used an ancient divine weapon to kill more than 10 sovereign realm experts who coveted the immortal spirit herb. The Qingbei sect said that the Sky Suppression Ghost Emperor had sneaked into the secret realm, snatched the immortal spirit herb, and destroyed the heaven refining divine cauldron. The Sky Suppression Ghost Emperor did not appear, but the experts of the Ghost Emperor Holy Island said that they were ambushed by the Qingbei sect and suffered heavy casualties. These forces that had ancient emperors leading them were always in conflict with each other. This had led to many conflicts between the cultivators under their sects. The atmosphere in the 9 divine regions of the central continent had become somewhat turbulent. Fortunately, there were ancient emperor experts to maintain order, so there was no major turmoil. There were only 2 groups of people who knew who had the immortal spirit herb. The first group was the Sky Imperial Palace, and the second group was Qin Yu and the others. However, the Sky Imperial Palace had left the secret realm early and returned to the spiritual state. After returning, they remained silent. Qin Yu and the others naturally would not expose their existence. The whereabouts of the immortal spirit herb had always been a mystery to the outside world. The earth-shattering golden lightning tribulation lasted for only half a day before it ended. With the help of the thunder-crossing immortal pill, the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon had completely passed the transformation tribulation. He had turned into a young man with golden fiery eyes, and his name was Fen Yu. On the other hand, Tai Shu Kong's divine power had been stripped away for 3 days and 3 nights before it completely ended. 2 days later. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Qin Yu and the other 2 appeared on a snowy plain with bone-chilling winds. This plain was the famous cold plain of the East Continent. The cold ice here did not dissipate all year round and had lasted for several generations. It was a famous wonder in the East Continent. Chapter 566. Under Pam Hong's lead, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul ventured deep into the Frost Ghost Plains. As for Tai Shu Kong, he had already left the East Continent and returned to the West Continent. First, he went into seclusion to cultivate and recover his cultivation. Secondly, he wanted to find out more about the situation in the Western Continent, especially about Qin Yu's enemies from his previous life, the ancient emperor. Qin Yu's expression changed slightly after he had traveled tens of thousands of miles deep into the cold plain. The Dragon Soul and Pan Hong instantly sensed this and looked in a certain direction in the cold dark plains. Something is approaching. An ancient halberd appeared in Pan Hong's hand, and mysterious ancient runes appeared on the ancient armor on his body. No signs of life. After the Dragon Soul sensed it carefully, it said in a strange tone. Could it be the legendary Dark Chill tribe? Qin Yu's eyes flashed. Rumor had it that an ancient clan lived on the Ghastly Plains, and they were called the Ghastly Clan. There were even rumors that the Dark Frost tribe and the Dark Frost Plains were the same. Both of them were miraculous creatures that had appeared for several eras. Woo woo woo. Accompanied by the howling of the wind and snow, a snowstorm that blotted out the sky and covered the sun swept over, blocking people's vision. In that snowstorm, there was a faint, deep blue cold light that disappeared in a flash. Fluctuations that made people's hearts palpitate were emitted from that snowstorm. Looks like we've really run into them. Divine light gathered in Qin Yu's eyes as he saw through the blizzard. The cold blue lights flashing in the snowstorm were creatures that looked like humans, but were icy blue all over. They looked exactly the same as the dark cold tribe recorded in the ancient books. Whoosh, whoosh. As if they had sensed Qin Yu's presence, the frosty cold outsiders made their moves one after another. Long spears formed from cold ice pierced through the wind and snow, tearing through the void. It was as if 10,000 arrows had been fired at the same time, shooting towards Qin Yu and the other two from all directions. God's mad dance. Pan Hong's eyes flickered coldly. He soared into the sky and swung the ancient spear in his hand. A circle of blue light spread out like a Vajra barrier, blocking all the serene cold ice spears. Swoosh. Qin Yu's flesh and blood were filled with dragon tattoos, and a mighty dragon's might swept out. His figure flashed, and he directly rushed into the surrounding snowstorm. Whoosh, whoosh. Seeing that Qin Yu was charging at them, the frozen nether race's members all aimed their attacks at Qin Yu. Countless frozen nether spears appeared. Heaven-devouring dragon seal. Qin Yu's gaze swept across the area. With a wave of his left hand, an ancient seal with a ferocious dragon head appeared. The dragon head opened its mouth and swallowed all of the serene chill ice spears. With Qin Yu's current cultivation base, he was able to use the heaven-devouring dragon seal in the state of the azure dragon battling the heavens. Although the cultivation of those frozen nether tribe members was comparable to that of a top emperor, they were still easily devoured. Seal. The foreign races seemed to sense that something was wrong and wanted to retreat immediately. However, Qin Yu's figure pierced through the air with extreme speed as a terrifying spacetime power spread out. The void within a radius of a few hundred feet seemed to have turned into a swamp, and the flow of time immediately slowed down by more than a few times. Sealing divine light appeared, and Qin Yu captured a frozen nether race member. Seeing this, the other frozen nether race members immediately exploded with a bang, turning into blue ice shards that merged into the snowstorm. Following the disappearance of the chilling foreign tribe members, the snowstorm that had gathered also quickly dissipated. Qin Yu and Pan Hong did not chase after them. They were both sizing up the sealed frozen nether race members. The frozen nether race members were indeed as recorded in the ancient books. Their entire bodies were formed from frozen nether ice, and they did not have any signs of life. However, their combat strength was extraordinary, and they were comparable to that of a high-level emperor. When they appeared in groups, even a top emperor would be in danger. After looking at them for a while, Qin Yu sent a wisp of his emperor soul into the frozen nether race member's body. Boom! Suddenly, a vast and unparalleled will came crashing down. That will was so terrifying that even Qin Yu's emperor soul, which was at the level of an ancient emperor, could not contend against it. Fortunately, at the critical moment, the divine dragon ancient seal shook slightly and dissipated that terrifying will. What is that? Qin Yu withdrew his emperor soul, and a look of shock flashed across his eyes. When the emperor soul and the will collided, Qin Yu vaguely saw a ferocious beast that was as big as a mountain and exuded a chilling aura. What's wrong? The dragon ancient soul appeared and asked Qin Yu. Pan Hong also looked at Qin Yu. Nothing. Qin Yu shook his head slightly. He had only seen the frozen nether race for a moment, and Qin Yu could not tell what was going on. Immediately, Qin Yu and the other two headed towards the frozen nether cave again. At the end of the frozen nether plain, there was a huge mountain that was tens of thousands of miles wide. But suddenly, the huge mountain shook violently, and two chilling eyes that were as big as lakes appeared on the huge mountain. The huge mountain opened its eyes and looked in a certain direction of the frozen nether plain, then slowly closed its eyes again, 4 hours later. Under Pan Hong's lead, Qin Yu and the dragon ancient soul finally arrived at the frozen nether cave. The frozen nether cave was an ancient cave that was hundreds of feet wide. The chilling aura inside was more than 10 times thicker than the frozen nether plane. One should know that this was only the entrance of the frozen nether cave. The deeper one went, the more terrifying the chilling aura of the frozen nether cave would be. It was also because of this that the chilling aura of the frozen nether cave could suppress the ghost curse in Long Hao's body. Inside the frozen nether cave, there were many passages that crisscrossed, like an unfathomable maze. Qin Yu walked for a while and saw it. This crystal-clear frozen nether cave could be said to be a natural maze that could interfere with one's perception. If it were not for the secret seals along the way, even Pan Hong, who had been here several times, would not have been able to enter and exit as he pleased. After about an incense stick's worth of time, Qin Yu appeared in front of a sparkling and translucent ice lake. The ice lake was not very big, only about 10 feet wide. The lake water inside was formed by pure chilling ice, like an orchid crystal. Break the seal. Pan Hong walked to the front of the lake and formed a seal with his hands. An ancient and mysterious divine seal appeared. The divine seal entered the lake, and mysterious ancient runes spread out above the lake. In an instant, a mysterious 8 trigrams divine formation was formed. In the center of the divine formation, there was a blue crystal coffin. Through the dark blue crystal, a figure could be seen lying quietly inside. It was a handsome man in white with a long spear in his hand. Although he was unconscious, the aura that the man emitted was extremely terrifying and oppressive. This person was none other than Long Hao, peak divine grade emperor. Qin Yu and the dragon soul looked at Long Hao in the crystal coffin, and a strange look flashed in their eyes. Long Hao's cultivation was even stronger than the high-level divine grade emperor that Pan Hong and the dragon soul had mentioned. This level of cultivation was only half a step away from the ancient emperor realm. What kind of opportunity did Long Hao have in the 10 years that he had been in the Eternal Sword Tomb? How could this be? However, after Pan Hong sensed Long Hao's cultivation, he was also shocked. Chapter 567. What do you mean? Hearing Pan Hong's words, Qin Yu asked in confusion. Junior brother's cultivation has become stronger in the past few years, Pan Hong said in a daze. The last time he came, Long Hao's cultivation was only at the high-level Saint Grade Emperor realm. But now, Long Hao's cultivation had broken through to the peak of the Saint Grade Emperor realm while he was sealed in ice. Pan Hong couldn't help but feel shocked. Qin Yu and the dragon soul took a glance at each other. They were both astonished. In the current heaven domain, high-level Saint Grade sovereigns were considered to be among the top experts. At this level, it would take a lot of time or amazing opportunities to improve one's cultivation. After all, a peak Saint Grade Emperor realm was only half a step away from the top ancient Emperor realm. How did Long Hao achieve a breakthrough in his cultivation under such circumstances? Break the seal. After thinking for a moment, Qin Yu said to Pan Hong. He would know what was going on after he checked it himself. Hearing this, Pan Hong nodded and repeatedly struck out a divine seal to break the seal on the crystal coffin. Boom! Immediately, a monstrous aura like that of an ancient ferocious beast soared into the sky and swept across the sky. The entire netherworld cold cave seemed to tremble faintly. The cultivation of a peak Saint Grade Emperor Realm Master was terrifying enough to crush an ordinary Emperor Realm Master. However, Qin Yu, Long Hun, and Pan Hong could all sense it. Long Hao's terrifying aura contained an extremely obvious gloomy and evil aura. It was the ghost curse that Ghost Emperor Zhen Tian had injected into Long Hao's body. Ghost Ancestor Divine Eye, Qin Yu thought, and a dark and deep pupil light flashed in the depths of his right eye. The Ghost Eye of Destruction, which had evolved into the Ghost Ancestor Divine Eye, appeared. Under the gaze of the Ghost Ancestor Divine Eye, Qin Yu immediately saw. In Long Hao's Dantian and 5 internal organs, there was a dark and evil ghost qi curse. The 6 ghost qi curse were like 6 ferocious and indestructible evil ghosts, constantly eroding Long Hao's 5 internal organs and Dantian. It's the immortal devouring ghost curse. When Qin Yu saw those 6 ghost curses, his expression could not help but turn grave. The immortal devouring ghost curse was the most mysterious and vicious of all the ghost curses Ghost Emperor Zhentian had. Qin Yu didn't know much about the immortal devouring ghost curse. He had only seen it in some ancient secret books. It was rumored that this ghostly curse had been passed down from the ancient immortal era and could even threaten the ancient immortals. As for whether it was true or not, there was no way to verify it. However, there was one thing that Qin Yu was certain of. Long Hao had definitely forced Ghost Emperor Zhentian into a corner. That was why Ghost Emperor Zhentian had no choice but to use this life-saving trump card. Even when he besieged Qin Yu in his previous life, Ghost Emperor Zhentian didn't use the immortal devouring ghost curse. What happened in the 10 years that Long Hao entered the Eternal Sword Tomb? This thought surfaced in Qin Yu's mind again. Of course, this situation could only wait for Long Hao to wake up before he could ask clearly. Ghost seal. Immediately, Qin Yu formed a seal with his hands, and the ghost ancestor god's eye trembled slightly. Beams of mysterious light appeared, penetrating the vast Tao around Long Hao and seeping into the 6 ferocious ghost curses. Not long after, the 6 ferocious ghost curses appeared clearly in the ghost ancestor god's eye. Qin Yu immediately focused and looked inside. As the ghost ancestor god's eye closed gently, the 6 ferocious ghost curses that appeared seemed to become illusory and transparent. One could clearly see the internal structure of the 6 ghost curses appear one by one. A trace of Emperor Soul power between Qin Yu's eyebrows merged with the ghost ancestor god's eye, clearly imprinting the structure of the 6 ghost curses. Then, Qin Yu closed his eyes slightly, and the method to break the structure of the 6 ghost curses appeared one after another in his mind. Qin Yu tried to deduce one by one, but he failed one by one. The methods to break other ghost curses couldn't be used on the immortal devouring ghost curse at all. Time slowly passed by as Qin Yu continued to close his eyes and attempt. The Dragon Soul and Pan Hong saw Qin Yu's expression become more and more solemn. They also knew that the ghost curses in Long Hao's body couldn't be easily broken, so they didn't dare to disturb Qin Yu at all. After a full 3 days, Qin Yu slowly opened his eyes, and there was a hint of fatigue in his eyes. Even with the strength of Qin Yu's ancient Emperor Realm Emperor Soul, these 3 days and 3 nights of deduction were a little difficult to bear. It was even more tiring than a great battle. Whoosh! After opening his eyes, Qin Yu didn't hesitate and formed a seal with both hands. A pitch-black light appeared in his eyes and entered Long Hao's body. Long Hao's body trembled violently, and the 6 ferocious ghost curses roared like evil spirits. Unfortunately, under the suppression of the ghost ancestor god's eye, they returned to nothingness. As expected, I can only barely suppress it, Qin Yu carefully sensed. Although the 6 ferocious ghost curses returned to nothingness, they were only suppressed and couldn't be completely erased. Master, how is it? Seeing this, Pam Hong quickly asked. It's a little troublesome. Qin Yu said. What do you mean? Dragon Soul asked. From Qin Yu's words, it seemed that he had found a way to break it. I need the power of the primordial immortal soul, Qin Yu said slowly. According to his analysis, the 6 ferocious ghost curses contained the power of the primordial immortal soul. In order to break it, it needed a pure primordial immortal soul. The power of the primordial immortal soul? Pam Hong's eyes widened. Could it be the soul of an ancient immortal from the primordial immortal era? Dragon Soul was also extremely shocked and in disbelief. The ancient immortal era had long disappeared in the primordial immortal era. In today's heaven region, even ancient immortal relics were extremely rare. Occasionally, one would appear, but it would quickly be occupied by the superforces and ancient emperors. Not to mention the immortal soul of a primordial immortal. To be precise, as long as it contains a primordial immortal soul, it will suffice. Although the two sounded similar, in reality, they were worlds apart. A complete primordial immortal soul would probably still have its consciousness even if it was still alive. However, it was different if it only contained a primordial immortal soul. It was like the difference between primordial immortal soul and primordial immortal soul. Hearing this, Pam Hong's dazed expression did not relax for long. This was because even a primordial immortal soul was definitely not easy to find. And now, Dragon Soul's current situation. I have already suppressed the ghost curse in Longhao's body. Pam Hong, your next task is to search for clues about the primordial immortal soul. Remember, don't let the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island find out. Qin Yu reminded Pam Hong. The upper echelons of the Ghost Emperor Sacred Island, especially Ghost Emperor Zhentian, should know the way to break the immortal devouring ghost curse. If Pam Hong's actions were exposed, it was very likely that Ghost Emperor Zhentian would find out. All right. Pam Hong nodded heavily. Although the ghost curse in Longhao's body was not broken, Longhao's condition would not worsen. This would give them enough time to search for the primordial immortal soul. Let's seal it first. Hey! Qin Yu, who was about to let Pam Hong seal Longhao again, suddenly exclaimed softly. Chapter 568. Qin Yu's gaze landed on Longhao's forehead. As the immortal devouring ghost curse was suppressed, a sword seal the size of an inch quietly appeared between Longhao's brows. What a terrifying sword aura! Long Hun and Pan Hong instantly sensed it, and their faces were filled with shock. The sword aura emitted from the inch-sized sword seal was so strong that it even made them feel a bone-chilling sense of danger. Merging with the flesh and bones, Qin Yu's eyes glowed, and he quickly saw through it. Within that inch-sized sword seal, there were strands of sword qi that quietly seeped out and fused into Longhao's limbs and bones. With the integration of the sword qi, Longhao's physical body and cultivation base gradually became stronger. I see. A strange look flashed across Qin Yu's eyes. When Qin Yu recognized the immortal devouring ghost curse, he felt extremely strange. Even with the power of the underworld cold cave, it was impossible for Longhao to survive for hundreds of years after being hit by the immortal devouring ghost curse. Now, the mystery was solved. The reason why Longhao could survive until now was all because of the sword aura of the sword seal to resist the power of the immortal devouring ghost curse. Could this be the opportunity that junior brother obtained in the eternal sword tomb? Pan Hong suddenly said after looking at it for a while. It should be, but, Qin Yu raised his brows slightly. After thinking for a while, a strand of Emperor soul flowed out and seeped into the sword seal between Longhao's brows. After a while, Qin Yu sensed that the sword seal had indeed merged with Longhao's soul. That was why Longhao's Emperor soul could continue to grow stronger when he was hit by the ghost curse and frozen. Qin Yu controlled the Emperor soul to continue seeping into the sword seal. He felt that the sword seal was a little strange. Whoosh! Suddenly, a profound fluctuation appeared within the inch-long sword mark. Before Qin Yu could react, he was engulfed by that energy fluctuation and entered a dense fog. The fog was filled with countless strands of inextinguishable sword aura that seemed to be able to crush everything in the void. I'm trapped. After wandering in the fog for a long time, Qin Yu's heart trembled slightly. He felt that he was trapped in this fog and was unable to break free unless he gave up this strand of sovereign spirit. Qin Yu thought for a moment, and with a thought, a destiny star in the creation immortal seal was consumed. Immediately, he saw that the surrounding dense fog had become much thinner. The power that had trapped the Emperor spirits also seemed to have weakened quite a bit. Seeing this, Qin Yu immediately consumed his stars of providence. After consuming more than 10 stars of providence in a row, the mist completely disappeared. Only wisps of invincible sword qi were swimming freely in it like little fish. Qin Yu was finally able to clearly see the scene within the fog. This was a spacious and empty space, about 1,000 feet in size. At the center of the space, there was a broken ancient talisman that emitted a monstrous sword aura. Qin Yu walked over. After taking a closer look, he realized that the ancient talisman was formed by invincible sword qi. After looking at the ancient talisman for a while, Qin Yu's Emperor spirit floated up, wanting to enter the ancient talisman. Boom! However, the moment the Emperor spirit touched the ancient talisman, a vast and terrifying sword intent swept out. Qin Yu's Emperor spirit was directly crushed by the sword qi. Thump! Thump! Qin Yu's body shook violently, and he was forced to take a few steps back. A look of shock appeared on his face. Master, what happened? Pan Hong and the Dragon Soul were greatly shocked. They did not know what was going on. I'm afraid that in addition to resolving the immortal devouring ghost curse, We have to think of a way to deal with this sword seal. Qin Yu suppressed the fluctuating blood qi in his body and walked in front of Long Hao. His eyes flashed coldly as he stared at the sword seal. At that moment, Qin Yu sensed a trace of soul energy from the ancient talisman of sword qi in the sword seal. However, that was not Long Hao's soul energy. In other words, it was very likely that the ancient talisman of sword qi was hiding some living creature. As for what it was, Qin Yu's cultivation was still weak. It was difficult to find out with just the emperor spirit of the ancient emperor realm. Seal it in ice. Qin Yu did not linger on the ancient talisman of sword qi. Currently, the greatest threat to Long Hao was the immortal devouring ghost curse. As for the ancient talisman of sword qi, he did not have to worry too much about it before the immortal devouring ghost curse was resolved. After leaving the netherworld cold cave, Qin Yu followed Pan Hong to the faction that Pan Hong had founded. Pan Hong's faction was called the Holy Dragon Sect. It was located in the Heavenly Martial Realm, one of the 27 martial realms of the East Continent. It was considered the border of the East Continent. Currently, the Holy Dragon Sect had two peak emperors. One was Pan Hong, and the other was the sect master of a faction that Pan Hong had merged with. In the Heavenly Martial Realm, the Holy Dragon Sect could barely be considered a mid-tier faction. However, in the entire East Continent, it could not be ranked at all. Although the East Continent could not be compared to the Middle Continent, its overall strength far surpassed the Spiritual Continent. Two top Emperor Realm Masters were nothing in this place. Pan Hong had brought Qin Yu into the Holy Dragon Sect. Apart from a few high-level emperors, no one else knew. After visiting Pan Hong, Qin Yu had originally planned to visit his second senior sister, Ning Qianmo. However, when he thought of Xing Luo, who also knew where his second senior sister was in seclusion, Qin Yu could only temporarily suppress this thought. Speaking of Xing Luo, Qin Yu thought of Zhangtian's sword immortal. He wondered how the two of them were doing now. In the following time, Qin Yu waited for news from Aodi. Aodi had said that he would take 3 months. Now, almost a month had passed. While waiting, Qin Yu kept refining spirit pills to raise the cultivation of the purple lightning divine firmament dragon Leiquang and the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon Fen Yu. However, after another month, Pan Hong gave Qin Yu a pleasant surprise. After condensing 9 purple suns and cultivating Qin Yu's divine heaven sun refining technique, Pan Hong's cultivation soared to peak emperor realm. When Qin Yu saw this, he used the 9 suns divine flower and immortal spirit herbs to refine the Saint Spirit Pill. The Saint Spirit Pill was an immortal pill that all peak emperors dreamed of. This immortal pill could increase the chances of a peak emperor becoming a divine emperor. If this immortal pill was circulated, it would cause countless emperors to fight over it. After Pan Hong obtained the Saint Spirit Pill, he arranged the matters of the sect and immediately went into seclusion. As long as he became a divine emperor, the status of the Holy Dragon Sect in the Heavenly Martial Realm would soar rapidly. Even in the Middle Continent, a divine emperor was a master who could dominate a region and create a superpower. Only those unparalleled holy grounds with ancient emperors and imperishable inheritances could suppress them. More importantly, the combat power of a divine emperor would be of great help to Qin Yu at this stage. Dong dong dong. After Pan Hong went into seclusion for more than a month, Qin Yu, who was guarding outside Pan Hong's seclusion, suddenly heard the urgent sound of an ancient bell in the Holy Dragon Sect. The Emperor Realm Elders of the Holy Dragon Sect were all gathering towards a certain palace in the Holy Dragon Sect. Qin Yu took a glance at that ancient palace. He did not move to leave. Shio. But not long after, a rainbow light broke through the sky and swept over with the aura of a peak emperor. Chapter 569. When the rainbow light dissipated, a middle-aged man with a dignified face appeared. This man was the sect master of Pan Hong's force, one of the 2 top emperors of the Holy Dragon Sect. Is the sect master still in seclusion? Li Qing looked at the palace, which was heavily guarded. Qin Yu nodded and asked, "What happened?" "The Golden Feather sect has invaded." Li Qing, who was always serious, looked even more solemn. Although he did not know Qin Yu's background, Li Qing did not underestimate Qin Yu, who had been brought back by Pan Hong. Qin Yu, who was only a second-grade emperor, gave off a faint sense of danger. The Golden Feather Sect. Qin Yu's expression changed slightly. The Golden Feather Sect was located in the south of the Holy Dragon Sect and had two top emperors. Pan Hong and Li Qing chose to merge to prevent the Golden Feather Sect from annexing them. This way, the Holy Dragon Sect and the Golden Feather Sect could confront each other. How strong are they? Qin Yu asked. There are 5 top-level emperors and more than 30 high-level emperors. It was precisely because Golden Feather Sect had 3 more top-level emperors that Li Qing was so anxious. We must inform the sect master. Otherwise, we will have to retreat, Li Qing said quickly. Qin Yu shook his head. I will deal with them. Pan Hong was in seclusion to break through to the divine grade emperor realm. At such a critical moment, he could not be disturbed by external forces. Otherwise, even with the help of the Saint spiritual celestial pills that Qin Yu had refined, he might not be able to break through. You! Li Qing looked to Qin Yu with a rather strange expression. Qin Yu did give him a sense of danger, but no matter how strong he was, could he make up for the huge gap between the 4 top emperors? Qin Yu did not waste any time. With a thought, the skeleton Ghost King appeared. You stay here. Kill anyone who dares to disturb us. After the end of the Double Void secret realm in the Central Province Saint region, the skeleton Ghost King had devoured more than 100 top emperors. Now, the skeleton Ghost King had reached the peak of the 8th grade Sovereign Master level. With the boundless 10,000 beasts superpower, he could rival a top-notch Sovereign Master. Understood. The skeleton Ghost King nodded. With a flash, it disappeared into the void. However, the entire palace where Pan Hong was in seclusion was enveloped by the skeleton Ghost King's aura. Peak 8th grade Sovereign? Li Qing couldn't hide the shock in his eyes when he saw the skeleton Ghost King. He did not expect that there would be such a powerful existence by Qin Yu's side. Just what was Qin Yu's background? Let's go, Qin Yu said, and immediately turned into a ray of light and rushed towards the Sacred Dragon Sect's great protective array. Li Qing came back to his senses and hurriedly followed. At first, he did not believe Qin Yu's words. However, after seeing the skeleton Ghost King, it was completely different. Since Qin Yu had the confidence to leave the skeleton Ghost King here, he must have some heaven-defying means. In a few breaths, Qin Yu arrived in front of the Sacred Dragon Sect's great protective array. In the void a few hundred meters away, there were thousands of people gathered. Their cultivation was at least at the Emperor realm. With such a foundation, except for the gap between top emperors, it was enough to compete with top forces like the Heavenly Imperial Palace in the Spirit State. It was obvious that the Golden Feather Sect's operation this time must have been intervened by other forces. Didn't they say that the Sacred Dragon Sect might have a 3rd top Emperor Realm Master besides Sect Master Pan Hong and Vice Sect Master Li Qing? Why is Li Qing the only one here? In front of the thousands of emperors of the Golden Feather Sect, there were 5 figures with extraordinary auras standing in the void. The one who spoke was a top Emperor Realm Master in a golden robe with a ferocious face. The pattern on the sleeve of the golden-robed Emperor Realm Master was a blood-red sword, not the symbol of the Golden Feather Sect. Since Pan Hong did not appear, it means that the information sent back by the spies I planted is true. Pan Hong went out this time and really obtained some opportunities. He might be breaking through to the Divine Emperor realm now. The eyes of the sect master of the Golden Feather Sect, Qian Zhentian, flickered with murderous intent. It was because of this information that Qian Zhentian knew that accepting the help of the Bloodsword Sect was tantamount to asking a tiger for its skin. However, he still had to rely on the power of the Bloodsword Sect. If Pan Hong really broke through to the Divine Emperor realm, the Golden Feather Sect would only have 2 choices. They would either submit or be removed from the sect. Haha, Sect Master Qian, you and I are both top emperors. You should know how difficult it is to break through to the Divine Emperor realm. Even if Pan Hong obtained some opportunities, it is absolutely impossible for him to break through to the Divine Emperor realm. In the Bloodsword Sect, an old man holding an ancient blood-red sword said with a chuckle. I hope so, Qian Zhentian said. Sect Master, it seems that Pan Hong will not appear. When do we take action? The Vice Sect Master of the Golden Feather Sect, Wang Hong, who was holding a huge saber, asked with murderous intent. We are almost ready. Of course, we should take action now. Chen Zhentian's eyes flashed with murderous intent as a mysterious ancient talisman flickered in his palm. In the next moment, a violent fluctuation of Dao arts came from the sacred dragon sect. Immediately after, there was a loud rumbling sound. A huge hole appeared in the sacred dragon sect's sect-defending array, and countless array runes became chaotic. Kill! Chen Zhentian shouted and immediately led the Emperor Realm Masters to attack. The Dao arts fluctuation that appeared in the sacred dragon sect was caused by the spies he had planted in the sect. Now that the sacred dragon sect's sect-defending array was broken, it was the best time for them to invade. This fluctuation, oh no, it's a trap. However, the moment Chen Zhentian, Wang Hong, and the three top emperors of the Bloodblade sect rushed into the array, their faces changed. Around them, there was a thick fog-like white qi that kept surging in the void. An extremely terrifying pressure was emitted from the white qi. It made them feel as if they were trapped in a muddy swamp, and their movements were greatly restricted. Not only that, but their perception and Dao arts were also greatly suppressed. Shio. Suddenly, there was a sharp sound of something breaking through the air, followed by the sound of flesh and blood exploding. A strong smell of blood immediately permeated the air. What the hell happened? Chen Zhentian, who was on full alert, looked extremely solemn. Even if his perception was suppressed, he could still sense that at least 20 high-level emperors had fallen. This made Chen Zhentian's heart sink, and he had an extremely bad feeling. Let's rush out first. Wang Hong and the three top emperors of the Bloodblade sect came to Chen Zhentian's side. Let's go. Hearing this, Chen Zhentian and the other four immediately set off in the direction of the sacred dragon sect. No matter what kind of array it was, with 5 top emperors working together, they did not believe that they could not break it. But before they could get far, the face of the Bloodblade sect's old man changed slightly. Be careful. As soon as he finished speaking, the 5 of them immediately stopped in the void filled with white qi. A figure quietly appeared in front of them. It was Qin Yu. Chapter 570. Is this the third top-notch emperor hidden by the sacred dragon sect? Chen Zhentian, Wang Hong, and the 3 top-notch emperors from the Bloodsword sect were stunned when they saw Qin Yu. Qin Yu, who was exuding a majestic divine power, made their hearts palpitate. It was the kind of palpitating feeling one would feel when facing an extremely dangerous creature. In other words, the Qin Yu that appeared possessed a threat capable of killing them. Qin Yu ignored the 5 of them. Mysterious runes spread out from his left hand and he shouted, "Formation, rise. Wang, 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 Wang." Immediately, in the void filled with white gas, lines of clearly visible mysterious runes appeared and turned into a mysterious ancient formation. The ancient formation was only a few hundred feet wide, which was just enough to trap Chen Zhentian and the other 4. Space seal. No, this is the power of space-time. Chen Zhentian and the other 4 immediately attacked, trying to break the ancient formation. But soon, the expressions of the 5 people changed again and again. The space within the mysterious ancient formation was like the surface of water. Layers upon layers of ripples appeared, and an extremely terrifying fluctuation spread out. This was not a simple spatial fluctuation, but an extremely rare power of space-time. Inside the ancient formation, Chen Zhentian and the other 4 felt as if they were in a different space. Time and space were greatly affected. Whoosh! In a flash, Qin Yu rushed out like a ghost and rushed into the ancient formation. The God Slayer in his hand lit up with ancient sword power and swept out. An ancient divine weapon? Even if it's an ancient divine weapon, with his cultivation, he can't unleash much of its power. He's dreaming if he wants to deal with us alone. 9 swords of bloodlight. Chaotic energy slash. While Chen Zhentian and the other 4 were shocked, they also unleashed their killing intent and secret techniques. Divine power boiling. At this moment, the divine power mark on Qin Yu's palm moved. Inside the ancient formation, the ancient divine power in the bodies of Chen Zhentian and the other 4 suddenly became violent. This made the situation worse for Chen Zhentian and the other 4, who were already suppressed by the ancient formation. The violent and terrifying fluctuations of their skills were immediately weakened by several levels. Bloodthirsty hell. At the same time, a loud dragon roar was heard. Blood mist covered the sky, and the dragon's soul controlled the bloodthirsty celestial dragon to appear. Rumble. An earth-shattering battle broke out in the ancient space-time array, and even the sky collapsed. Under the joint attack of Qin Yu and the dragon soul, Qian Zhentian and the other four, who had suffered from the ancient divine energy within their bodies, were all seriously injured. 2 were even killed. Wait. We're from the Blood Sword sect. You can't kill us. Seeing that he was about to lose his life under Qin Yu's storm-like blood-red sword light, the golden-robed man from the Blood Sword sect cried out in fear. Qin Yu's eyes flickered and he changed his attack. He formed a divine seal with his left hand and shouted, "Soul-devouring curse." The golden-robed man, who originally thought that he had escaped a calamity, did not even have time to react before his sovereign spirit was sealed. As for Qian Zhentian and the other 2, Qin Yu did not show any mercy. He directly beheaded them and sealed their sovereign spirits. Although Qian Zhentian and the other 4 were all top Emperor Realm Masters, their combat strength was far inferior to the 1,000 Mountain Cauldron of the 10,000 Martial Sect. Even the 1,000 Mountain Cauldron, who had reached the limit of a top Emperor Realm Master, was killed by Qin Yu after his ancient divine powers had gone berserk. Qian Zhentian and the other 4 naturally could not last long in Qin Yu's hands. It's over. Outside the divine array, Li Qing, who was suppressing several high-level emperors from the Golden Feather sect while watching Qin Yu's battle, was shocked. With his own strength, he had fought against 5 peak emperors and killed all of them in such a short time. Only a Saint Emperor Realm Master would be able to display such terrifying combat power, right? This made Li Qing more and more curious about Qin Yu's identity. From Pan Hong's attitude towards Qin Yu, Li Qing knew that Qin Yu's background was not simple. Now, it seemed that Qin Yu's background was even more shocking than he had imagined. After Qian Zhentian and the other top emperors were killed, the rest of the Golden Feather sect's emperors were naturally much easier to deal with. Under the divine array set up by Qin Yu, the violent battle only lasted for half an incense stick's worth of time before it ended. The thousands of emperors from the Golden Feather sect and the Blood Sword sect who had joined forces to invade were all killed. Under Li Qing's leadership, dozens of emperors from the Holy Dragon sect also died while facing the enemy. This was a great loss for the Holy Dragon sect, but compared to the annihilation of the Golden Feather sect and the Blood Sword sect, the loss was not worth mentioning at all. After the battle, Qin Yu took out the Emperor soul of the golden-robed man. After using the soul-devouring curse to search and refine his soul, Qin Yu quickly obtained detailed information about the Blood Sword sect. The Blood Sword sect was an upper-middle force in the heavenly martial realm. Like the Holy Dragon sect and the Golden Feather sect, it was located in the southern region of the heavenly martial realm. The Blood Sword sect had 9 top emperors, and their foundation was comparable to the heavenly imperial palace and other top forces in the spiritual state. Before this, the Blood Sword sect had always intended to unify the southern region. But because the Holy Dragon sect and the other 4 great forces existed in the southern region, the Blood Sword sect was worried that the 5 great forces would join forces to fight against them, so they had always been secretly infiltrating. When they learned that the grudge between the Golden Feather sect and the Holy Dragon sect had escalated, they immediately sent people to take advantage of this opportunity to unify the southern region. If not for Qin Yu, the Blood Sword sect's plan might have succeeded. After all, even if Pan Hong came out of seclusion, it would be impossible to reverse the situation today. I'm afraid that the Blood Sword sect will not let today's battle go, so we can't let our guard down. As for the other matters, you can decide. Seeing Li Qing come to ask about the next arrangements, Qin Yu gave a simple explanation. In his previous life, he did not establish a sect, and when he came to the spiritual state, he focused on cultivation, so it was not convenient for him to arrange a force. After Pan Hong came out of seclusion, it was better to let Li Qing make the arrangements. All right. Li Qing nodded and immediately went to make the arrangements. After this battle, the Holy Dragon sect's cultivators seemed to view Qin Yu as their leader. In the world of cultivators, the strong were always respected. News of the battle between the 3 great sects of the Holy Dragon sect quickly spread throughout the heavenly martial realm. Even in the vast eastern continent, it was rare for thousands of sovereigns to die in a great battle. The Holy Dragon sect, which was not famous in the southern region of the heavenly martial realm, became famous after this battle and became a superior faction of the heavenly martial realm. Before knowing the Holy Dragon sect's foundation, the Bloodsword sect did not take any revenge on the Holy Dragon sect. Of course, the Bloodsword sect had to gather information and mobilize their forces. The destruction of the Golden Feather sect in this great battle also caused the southern region to be in chaos. The Holy Dragon sect did not fight over the Golden Feather sect's territory and resources. However, the other factions wantonly made a move, causing many casualties. Amid the turmoil in the southern region of the heavenly martial realm, 1 month passed quietly. Boom! On this day, the Holy Dragon sect's cultivators, who were on high alert, felt a vast might sweep through the 9 heavens, suppressing everyone. They finally succeeded. Outside the palace, Qin Yu, who was meditating in seclusion, opened his eyes, and a bright light flashed in them. It was obvious that Pan Hong had broken through to the Divine Emperor grade. Chapter 571. The sect master has become a Divine Emperor? That's great. We don't have to worry about the Bloodsword sect anymore. Haha, I'm afraid it's the Bloodsword sect's turn to worry now. As Pan Hong became a Divine Emperor, the ripples spread out. All the top powers of the Sacred Dragon sect gathered together, their faces filled with excitement. A Divine Emperor was definitely a top powerhouse in the heavenly martial realm. At the very least, there were no Divine Emperors in the southern region of the heavenly martial realm. In other words, Pan Hong, who had become a Divine Emperor, could easily unify the southern region. This naturally excited the cultivators of the Holy Dragon sect. The bigger the territory, the more resources there would be. The number of powerhouses in the sect would naturally increase in the future, and their forces would become stronger and stronger. Li Qing, who was the first to arrive, had a look of relief on his face. Before the merger with the Holy Dragon sect, there were a total of 6 great forces in the southern region. Li Qing was now very glad that he had chosen to merge with the Holy Dragon sect. Now that Pan Hong had become a Divine Emperor, his status would naturally rise in the future. Of course, Li Qing was also very envious of Pan Hong. Becoming a Divine Emperor was the dream of all top-notch emperors. Once one entered the Divine Emperor realm, their status would undergo an earth-shaking change. The change was even greater than the difference between the Martial Emperor realm and the Emperor realm. Unfortunately, the barrier to becoming a Divine Emperor hindered the progress of countless top-notch emperors. Li Qing knew very well that if he did not get a powerful opportunity, he would not be able to become a Divine Emperor in this lifetime. When Pan Hong became a Divine Emperor and emitted a monstrous divine aura, the top emperors in the southern region of the heavenly martial realm all sensed it. This made the top emperors' expressions change, and they all went to confirm it personally. Who is it that has broken through to the Divine Emperor realm? Soon, news of a Divine Emperor appearing in the Holy Dragon sect spread. It was like a prairie fire that swept through all the forces in the heavenly martial realm. The heavenly martial realm was considered a remote place in the central region. Now that a new Divine Emperor had appeared, it was enough to shock the entire heavenly martial realm. Catcher. In the Holy Dragon sect, the door of the palace where Pan Hong was in seclusion opened. A burly figure walked out of the palace. It was Pan Hong. Pan Hong, who had just become a Divine Emperor, was still unable to control the surging Tao power. As a result, with him as the center, the void within a radius of several hundred miles seemed to be boiling like boiling water. The martial artists from the Sacred Dragon sect could not help but retreat. They could not withstand the pressure. Congratulations, sect leader, for stepping into the divine heavenly sovereign stage. Seeing Pan Hong appear, the Sacred Dragon sect's venerable sovereigns, led by Li Qing, knelt on one knee and saluted him. Although the Sacred Dragon sect had merged with the Sacred Dragon sect, Li Qing's position in the Sacred Dragon sect wasn't any lower than Pan Hong's. However, at that moment, Li Qing and the others had completely submitted to him. Pan Hong swept his dignified gaze across the Holy Dragon Gate and the martial emperors. Then, he waved his hand indifferently and said, "Disperse." Li Qing and the other sovereigns of the Sacred Dragon sect immediately left. It seems that your foundation is quite deep. Qin Yu sensed the aura of the Tao technique emitted by Pan Hong. Although Pan Hong had just become a low-level Saint-grade Emperor Venerable, the ripples of Tao skill he emitted were extremely strong. In Qin Yu's opinion, Pan Hong was comparable to a mid-level Saint-grade Emperor Venerable. If not for Master's immortal elixir, I'm afraid that even if I cultivated for another 100 years, it would still be difficult for me to step into the divine heavenly sovereign stage. Pan Hong, who had an extraordinary aura in front of the sacred dragon sect and the others, was as respectful as ever in front of Qin Yu. Pan Hong's attitude did not change just because his cultivation had reached the divine heavenly sovereign stage. When Pan Hong was accepted as a disciple by Qin Yu, it was during Qin Yu's peak period. Pan Hong had seen how the peerless ancient emperors of the past had died at the hands of Qin Yu. Pan Hong's respect and yearning for Qin Yu were almost imprinted in his bones. Qin Yu smiled and said, "Since you have successfully broken through, I can return to the spiritual state with peace of mind." Qin Yu's purpose of returning to the spiritual state was naturally because the agreed time with Aodi was almost up. Pan Hong said, "Master, why don't I go with you?" Pan Hong did not know why Qin Yu was returning to the spiritual state. However, with Pan Hong's current cultivation, he could already help. Qin Yu shook his head slightly and said, "While you were in seclusion, the Golden Feather sect and the Bloodsword sect joined forces to attack." With that, Qin Yu told Pan Hong about the previous battle. After hearing this, Pan Hong's eyes were filled with killing intent. As expected, the Bloodsword sect could not hold back and made their move. "So, just in case, it's better for you to stay in the East Continent," Qin Yu said. Pan Hong nodded and immediately asked, "Master, what about the ancient emperor forces in the East Continent?" "Secretly investigate the strength of their forces, but don't let anyone find out that it's you." Pan Hong was Qin Yu's eldest disciple. If those ancient emperors found out about Pan Hong's actions, it would cause trouble. That would inevitably give rise to a lot of incidents and even lead to Qin Yu being investigated. Pan Hong said solemnly, "Don't worry, I know what to do. Let's go." Qin Yu patted Pan Hong's shoulder. With a flash, he broke through the void and left. After Qin Yu left, Pan Hong immediately gathered Li Qing and the other elders of the Sacred Dragon sect. Soon, the Sacred Dragon sect's experts swarmed out under Pan Hong's lead. In less than half a day, the Bloodsword sect was destroyed, and the other forces surrendered. The Sacred Dragon sect led by Pan Hong completely unified the southern region of the heavenly martial realm. Qin Yu wanted to take revenge on the ancient emperor forces in the East Continent without exposing his identity. Therefore, he needed a legitimate excuse. The rise of the Sacred Dragon sect was a good opportunity. Pan Hong was well aware of this, so he directly expanded and conquered the southern region. His goal was to lay a foundation for Qin Yu's future actions. 5 days after Qin Yu left the territory of the East Province, Aodi finally sent him news. Seeing Aodi's message, Qin Yu's expression changed slightly. The Divine Land. The Divine Land was the place with the most ancient and god relics in the 9 continents of the heavenly realm. Countless Ascendant Realm experts had passed away there. The most mysterious descendant of a god in the heavenly realm was also in the Divine Land. However, the Dragon Emperor had also passed away in the Divine Land. This was beyond Qin Yu's expectations. In his previous life, Qin Yu had also gone to search for the Dragon Emperor's tomb, but all the clues pointed to the extraterritorial realm. After all, the Dragon Emperor had refined a piece of the starry sky and turned it into the eternal dragon nation to accommodate thousands of dragons. Although he was surprised, Qin Yu immediately rushed to the Divine Land. Qin Yu had just left the East Continent and had yet to return to the spiritual state. Therefore, Qin Yu directly changed his route halfway. 12 days later, Qin Yu rushed without stopping and finally arrived at the border of the Divine Land. In a mountain range shrouded in marsh gas, Qin Yu saw Aodi, who had been waiting for him. "You left the Heavenly Imperial Palace?" Aodi asked curiously when he saw Qin Yu rushing over. Aodi had originally gone directly to the spiritual state to look for Qin Yu, but it was in vain. "Something happened, so I'm not in the spiritual state now." Qin Yu nodded slightly. Aodi didn't pursue the matter. Instead, he asked, "Can the barrier be broken?" "Of course." Qin Yu opened his left hand, and mysterious divine runes spread out. It was the barrier of the Dragon Emperor's tomb that Aodi had given him. Chapter 572. Great. Seeing that Qin Yu had easily broken the boundary of the tomb of the Dragon Emperor, Aodi's eyes flashed with joy. Originally, as long as Qin Yu could break the boundary within 10 breaths, it would be enough to meet Aodi's expectations. But now, Qin Yu had done it in less than 5 breaths. 5 breaths less would be of great help to Aodi's plan. Qin Yu dispersed the boundary in his palm and asked, "How did the Dragon Emperor pass away in the Divine Land?" This was something that Qin Yu was curious about. If he had known in his previous life that the tomb of the Dragon Emperor was in the Divine Land, he would not have needed to waste his time. He would not have wasted his time and effort in the extraterritorial region. Because my ancestor had something to do with the gods of ancient times, Aodi said. Qin Yu's eyes flashed with surprise. The Dragon Emperor was actually a creature of ancient times. This was really beyond Qin Yu's expectations. However, seeing that Aodi did not elaborate, Qin Yu did not ask. He was about to enter the tomb of the Dragon Emperor, so he should know the secret of the Dragon Emperor. Let's go. After making sure that Qin Yu could break the boundary, Aodi immediately took the lead and flew away. After about 4 hours, Aodi led Qin Yu through the desolate Divine Land and arrived somewhere in the Divine Land. Woo woo woo. In front of an immeasurably deep and boundless cliff, there were gusts of whistling wind that sounded like the weeping of ghosts. Aodi and Qin Yu descended from the sky and appeared at the edge of the cliff. The cliff was bottomless, and there were rolling clouds and mist, like a sea of clouds. The tomb of the Dragon Emperor is hidden in the Endless Abyss. The Endless Abyss was a famous ancient relic, even in the Divine Land where there were many miracles. It was rumored that the Endless Abyss was an ancient battlefield, where several ancient immortals had fought in the past. Therefore, this bottomless abyss appeared. When Qin Yu was looking at the Endless Abyss, a trace of special fluctuation quietly spread out. Flying shadow gauze. Aodi took out an ancient gauze. As his true essence and Tao arts surged forth, the ancient muslin rapidly expanded. In the blink of an eye, Aodi and Qin Yu were covered by the enlarged ancient veil. As the grey divine runes on the ancient veil flashed, they merged with the clouds of the Endless Abyss. Whoosh! Aodi's hand seals changed, and the flying yarn shadow immediately turned into a ray of grey light and rushed into the Endless Abyss. The Endless Abyss was not only vast and boundless, but the rolling clouds and mist inside could also interfere with a martial artist's perception. Even with his perception ability, he couldn't tell the direction in the Endless Abyss. Aodi flew for hundreds of thousands of miles before he finally came to a halt somewhere in the void. After coming to a stop, Aodi looked around cautiously. Of course, what Aodi was wary of was the 3 transformed dragons that he had mentioned before. Dragon Soul, how is it? At this time, Qin Yu also quietly asked the Dragon Soul. Qin Yu had come to the tomb of the Dragon Emperor for the sake of the former Dragon Emperor and for the sake of the transformed dragons. When he first came to the Endless Abyss, Qin Yu used a secret technique to sense it. However, even Qin Yu's ancient Emperor soul power was greatly interfered with and suppressed by the Endless Abyss. Although I don't know the exact location, I can indeed sense it. The Dragon Soul, who had been using a secret technique to sense, spoke with a hint of excitement in its voice. Hearing this, Qin Yu's eyes flashed, and he was also quite excited. If he could capture all 3 transformed dragons, he would be able to. Then Qin Yu was confident that he could directly advance to the Divine Emperor realm, and even recover to the Ancient Emperor realm. Aodi looked at Qin Yu solemnly. Get ready, I'm going to summon the tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Okay. Qin Yu nodded slightly. A spiritual array disc appeared in his hand, and mysterious runes spread out. Aodi immediately opened his right hand, and a mysterious divine seal appeared in his palm. As the divine seal trembled, it emitted an extremely ancient and mysterious fluctuation, as if a primordial immortal had descended. Fortunately, Aodi was prepared, and the fluctuation emitted by the divine seal was completely blocked. Then, Aodi's left hand turned into a sword, and he slit his right hand. Pale golden blood immediately flowed out. The blood flowed through his skin and into the mysterious divine seal. Beams of golden divine light shone out from the mysterious divine seal. Each beam of divine light was like a golden Shenron, exuding an unparalleled dragon's might that suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Burning dragon blood, offering dragon soul, Aodi chanted the ancient dragon language, and the golden divine light danced around him. Appear. Following Aodi's low roar, the golden divine dragon that was circling around him suddenly rushed into the 9 heavens. In the next moment, a vast divine might descended from the sky. In an instant, Qin Yu opened his eyes. He raised his head and looked. Shock flashed through his eyes. He saw a huge black shadow that was tens of thousands of feet tall, and it covered the sky and the sun, appearing in midair. After taking a closer look, he realized that the huge black shadow was the corner of a mysterious stone tomb. The mysterious stone tomb seemed to be carved from the body of a dragon. It was covered with dragon scales, and the mysterious dragon patterns were clearly visible. The tomb of the Dragon Emperor. Seeing the mysterious stone tomb, Qin Yu's eyes lit up like stars. Almost at the same time, the dragon soul said, "It's here, in the east. Hurry up." Aodi also sensed it, and his expression became more serious as he urged Qin Yu. After saying that, Aodi formed a seal with his hands, and a dragon seal with cold air appeared between his eyebrows. Dark blue dragon scales that were as cold as ice instantly covered Aodi's body. In the blink of an eye, Aodi turned into a half-dragon, and a vast and immeasurable dragon's might swept out. It is indeed a primordial ice crystal dragon, and the dragon blood aura is very pure. The dragon soul looked at Aodi, whose body was covered in dark blue crystal dragon scales, and its eyes were burning with passion. Aodi's dragon blood aura was the purest dragon blood that the dragon soul had ever sensed. As Aodi turned into a half-dragon, a bone-chilling ice shield appeared with them as the center. The ice shield was not very big, only about a few 100 feet wide. It was just enough to cover Aodi, Qin Yu, and the sharp corner that appeared in the mysterious ancient tomb. Seeing this, Qin Yu did not hesitate and immediately flew to the sharp corner of the mysterious stone tomb. In the center of his palm, mysterious runes swept out and seeped into the stone tomb. Immediately, he saw the enchantment restriction that Aodi had given him before appear on the mysterious stone tomb. He quickly used the method that he had practiced countless times to break it. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. 4 earth-shattering dragons might swept across the sky. The clouds and mist within 10,000 miles of the endless abyss were split apart. Qin Yu sensed it, and his eyes became brighter. 4 members of the dragon tribe in human form? While breaking the enchantment restriction, Qin Yu also looked at the 4 members of the dragon tribe in human form from the corner of his eye. The leader was a muscular man in a 5-clawed dragon robe. The 3 people beside the man in the dragon robe were all in long silver robes, and their auras were extraordinary. The 4 of them were all 9th-grade sovereigns, which was the cultivation of a top-notch sovereign. However, judging from the dragon's aura that they were emitting, they were not members of the dragon tribe. Chapter 573. There are 4 shape-shifted dragons. Qin Yu's eyes shone brightly. There were more shape-shifted dragons than the 3 shape-shifted dragons that Aodi had mentioned. This was an unexpected surprise for Qin Yu. Primordial evil dragon, natal superpower, primordial yin-yang power, Umbra illusion dragon, innate mystique, Umbra thousand illusion Dao, fiery eyes lunar dragon, natal superpower, lunar destruction curse, earth devouring evil dragon, natal superpower, earth spirit communication technique. The dragon soul in the divine dragon ancient seal formed a seal with both hands and performed a secret skill of the dragon clan. Soon, the dragon soul sensed the true forms of the 4 shape-shifted dragons. Even among the dragon race, the 4 of them were top-notch existences in terms of their dragon species and origin abilities. Aoba, Ao Ying, Ao Li, Ao Xie. Aodi looked at the 4 people with murderous intent in his eyes. These 4 were different from Bloodthirsty, Tianlong, and Xian Hai. They were Aodi's fellows. They were all from the same clan. In terms of bloodline, the 4 of them could be considered the descendants of the Dragon Emperor. However, The Dragon Emperor's bloodline was not as strong as Aodi's. Therefore, they did not awaken the dragon seeds of the Dragon Emperor. Aodi had thought that only Ao Ying and the other two would come. He did not expect Aoba to be hiding in the dark. In that case, the pressure on him would be much greater. I was wondering why he dared to come even though he knew that Ao Ying and the other two were here. It turns out that he found help. Aoba, who had replaced Aodi in the Dragon Clan and called himself the Dragon Emperor, looked at the tomb of the Dragon Emperor with excitement in his eyes. As for the helper that Aodi found, Chi knew, Aodi did not care about him at all. With the number of subordinates he had brought with him this time, the addition of a second-stage Emperor-level Qin Yu would not be able to stop them. Kill. However, when he saw that Qin Yu had broken through more than half of the barrier, Aoba immediately gave the order. Immediately, the four of them entered their half-dragon forms and charged out with the surging power of Daoist techniques. For Aoba and the others who had passed the shape-shifted lightning tribulation and reached the pinnacle of the sovereign realm, they did not want to transform into their dragon forms. Their current half-dragon form could be considered their strongest state. Of course, if he was forced into a desperate situation and had to use some kind of restriction technique, he would be able to use it. They would still completely transform into their dragon forms, just like the bloodthirsty heavenly dragon. Frozen heaven and earth. Aodi formed a seal with his hands and cast his origin divine ability. In an instant, with the ice shield at the center, thousands of miles of space was frozen, turning into a world of ice. Primordial yin-yang power, Aoba suddenly roared, and a rather evil and ferocious aura spread out. In the void around him, two types of energy, one yin and one yang, converged and formed a yin-yang taiji diagram. The yin-yang taiji diagram spun rapidly, shattering all of Aodi's primordial ice crystals. He's actually a half-step divine emperor. Aodi's eyes darkened as the killing intent in his eyes intensified. Aoba was able to become the extraterritorial dragon race's emperor because his combat strength was enough to suppress a peak emperor. Now that his cultivation had reached the divine emperor realm, his strength must be even more terrifying. More importantly, it wasn't that Aoba couldn't advance to the divine emperor realm before. It was just that Aoba had been constantly tempering his dragon race bloodline and had suppressed the breakthrough of his cultivation. Now that his cultivation had reached the half-step divine emperor realm, it meant that Aoba had reached the limit of tempering his bloodline. Now, the strength of Aoba's dragon emperor bloodline was probably comparable to his. Sizzle. Sizzle. As Aodi's killing intent raged, wisps of pitch-black air flowed out like thousands of ghosts. They wreaked havoc in the void and tainted Aodi's ice shield. One could clearly see that the ice shield was disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. The attacker was the black-clad Ao Li on Aoba's left. Ao Li's true form was a fiery eyes tie-in dragon, which was a dragon with two types of power. A pair of fiery eyes could see through countless illusory arrays and secret techniques. The tie-in power itself could crush all things and Daos. However, Ao Li's natal divine ability had only inherited the tie-in power, which was the tie-in destruction curse. But with the help of Ao Li's fiery eyes, the ice shield that Aodi had set up immediately had a weak point. Now, the tie-in destruction curse had tainted the ice shield's weak point. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. Before Aodi could continue, streaks of dark light appeared along with the pitch-black airflows. If he glanced at the black light would immediately stop him. It was like the surface of a lake without ripples, reflecting the person who looked at it. It could make one's mind sink into the dark light unknowingly. The Phantom Illusion Dragon, Ao Ying, had unleashed her innate mystique, the Phantom Thousand Illusion Dao. This was a divine ability secret technique that could evolve into endless illusions. Although Aoba and the other two's natal divine abilities were released one after the other, they were only separated by a moment. Crack. Under the three's natal divine abilities, the ice shield that Aodi had set up did not even last for 2 breaths of time. Immediately, a tiny crack appeared, and the crack was still expanding. How could this be? Aodi's expression changed slightly. The power of Aoba and the other three's natal divine abilities was far beyond his expectations. He had thought that the ice shield could at least hold on for 10 breaths of time. But he did not expect that it could not even hold on for 2 breaths of time. Aodi did not notice that Aosia, who had rushed over but did not make a move, had a mysterious and strange wave spreading around him. Because of this, the defensive power of Aoba's ice shield was far below Aodi's expectations. Aoba, who did not know the reason, was puzzled. Even if Qin Yu could break open the barrier before Aoba and the other three broke through the ice cover, he would not be able to do so. But Aodi was not sure if he could stop Aoba and the other three's natal divine abilities the moment they entered the tomb of the Dragon Emperor. If he could not stop them, then it would be meaningless for him to work together with Qin Yu. Bang! However, at this moment, Aodi heard an explosion that wasn't very loud. Aodi's expression brightened, and he quickly turned to look. He saw that Qin Yu had broken the barrier. It had only been 3 breaths of time since he had summoned the tomb of the Dragon Emperor to Aoba and the other three's natal divine abilities. This was much shorter than the 5 breaths of time Qin Yu had shown before. We can go in now. Qin Yu, who had broken the barrier, set up a divine curse barrier at the corner of the ancient tomb. Break the barrier. Aodi immediately flew out, took out a golden dragon seal, and sent it into the divine curse barrier set up by Qin Yu. Immediately, a 5-foot-wide void-light door appeared in a flash. Aodi's figure flashed, and he immediately flew into it. Qin Yu was not slow either. Almost instantly, he flew into the void-light door. But as they flew in, Aodi and Qin Yu were both on guard. From the moment they broke through the boundary of the Dragon Emperor's tomb, their cooperation had come to an end. Chapter 574. Seal. Of course, although Aodi was wary of Qin Yu, the most important thing for him was to stop Aoba and the others. So, the moment he rushed into the ancient tomb, Aodi immediately used his secret technique. On top of the ice shield, there was a layer of transparent ice light screen that sealed the void light gate. In an instant, the door of light in the void disappeared and merged into the void. Aodi's expression relaxed when he saw this. Qin Yu had broken the barrier a few breaths earlier, allowing him to successfully stop Aoba and the others. Doesn't this mean we can't suppress the 4 dragons? In the Divine Dragon Ancient Seal, the Dragon Soul saw the entrance to the Dragon Emperor's tomb disappear and said to Qin Yu. The Dragon Emperor's tomb was very important to Qin Yu, but Qin Yu could not give up on the 4 transformed dragons. In fact, if he were to choose between the 2, the Dragon Soul felt that those 4 dragon transformation clansmen would be of greater assistance to Qin Yu. Although the Emperor Realm was divided into 9th Grade Emperor Realm, Divine Grade Emperor Realm, and Ancient Emperor Realm by the cultivators of the Heaven Domain. But for the Dragon Clan, there was only 9th Grade Emperor Realm and Divine Grade Emperor Realm. Once the Dragon Clan stepped into the Divine Grade Emperor Realm, it was equivalent to a cultivator stepping into the Ancient Emperor Realm. The 4 transformed dragons all had the cultivation of a top Emperor Master. Qin Yu could still suppress them with the many secret techniques he had. But when they stepped into the Divine Grade Emperor Realm, Qin Yu could not suppress them unless he regained the cultivation of his previous life. So, Qin Yu could not miss this opportunity. Of course, there is a chance. The 4 dragons have already entered. A bright light flashed through Qin Yu's eyes. He took a glance at Aodi and then flew away. When he broke the barrier of the Dragon Emperor's tomb, Qin Yu left a perception seal at the entrance of the Dragon Emperor's tomb. Although he did not know what method Aoba and the others used to hide from Aodi, but he was sure that Aoba and the others had already entered the ancient tomb. When Aodi saw Qin Yu flying away immediately, a strange look flashed across her eyes. Aodi was quite wary of Qin Yu. When Qin Yu was still at the Martial Emperor Realm, he had suffered many losses at the hands of Qin Yu. Now that Qin Yu had broken through to the Emperor Realm, his true strength was immeasurable. However, after pausing for a moment, Aodi withdrew his gaze and flew towards a certain spot in the Dragon Emperor's tomb. Now, it did not matter whether it was Qin Yu or Aoba and the others. The most important thing was to obtain the inheritance left behind by the Dragon Emperor. At this time, Somewhere in the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb, there was a turbulent void. As the void shook, 4 figures appeared from the void. It was Kwong Ba's group of 4. Go. After entering, Aoba, who had an extremely fanatical expression, did not hesitate at all and quickly flew into the sky. The Dragon Emperor's tomb was vast and boundless, as if it contained a boundless starry sky. After Qin Yu, Aodi, Aoba, and the others entered the ancient tomb and flew separately, an ancient battlefield appeared before them. An ancient battlefield appeared in front of them. Inside it, there was a faint grey air current that was moving up and down. It was as if there was some kind of power in the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb that drew them here. It actually contains dragon qi. Qin Yu caught a trace of the aura and sensed it for a moment. A look of surprise appeared on his face. Those light grey streams of air actually contained a rather pure dragon qi. It was unknown how big this ancient battlefield was. The entire battlefield was covered by dragon qi. One could imagine how terrifying the dragon qi contained in this battlefield was. Refine. With a thought, Qin Yu's divine dragon ancient seal shook slightly. The dragon qi within a radius of several hundred kilometers was madly absorbed. But soon, Qin Yu found that although the aura contained dragon qi, it was too thin. For the current Qin Yu, no matter how much he absorbed, it would not be of much use. In the depths of this ancient battlefield, there are creatures with rich dragon qi. The dragon soul appeared from the divine dragon ancient seal and said to Qin Yu, "Creatures." Qin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. In terms of sensing the dragon race, the dragon soul was far superior to him. Qin Yu did not think that the dragon soul would be wrong. However, there were creatures in this ancient battlefield of the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb. This caused Qin Yu to feel extremely astonished. After thinking for a while, Qin Yu rushed into the depths of the ancient battlefield. Dragon qi? Soul power? Not long after, Qin Yu encountered the creature that contained the dragon's aura that the dragon soul sensed. It was a humanoid creature that was about 10 feet tall. Its facial features were blurry, and its body was illusory. It was formed from extremely pure dragon qi and some chaotic soul power. The dragon qi battle soul has finally appeared. Somewhere in this dragon qi ancient battlefield, Aodi also encountered the dragon qi creature. A look of excitement appeared on his face. According to the inheritance information in the bloodline, these dragon qi creatures were called dragon qi battle souls. They were formed from the dragon qi and dragon soul power left behind by the Dragon Emperor. As such, these dragon qi fighting souls contained a unique dragon qi. It was the source dragon qi left behind by the Dragon Emperor. As long as one killed enough dragon qi battle souls and condensed the source dragon qi, they would be able to obtain the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. Heaven and earth freeze. Along with a sky-shaking dragon roar, Aodi's dragon scales that were overflowing with cold air appeared and directly entered the ancient ice crystal dragon's half-dragon body. Immediately after, Aodi turned into an icy light and immediately rushed into the ancient battlefield, pouncing on the dragon qi battle soul. The surrounding void was frozen, and the dragon qi battle soul with the battle strength of an emperor realm master was directly frozen. Catcher. The deep blue ice layer burst, and the dragon qi battle soul was destroyed. A trace of dark golden dragon qi spread out and was restrained by Aodi. After sensing the dark golden source dragon qi, Aodi did not stay for long and began to search for dragon qi battle souls again. Bang! Somewhere in the ancient battlefield, Aoba and the other 3 killed a dragon qi battle soul in an instant. Sure enough, these battle souls contain the Dragon Emperor's source dragon qi. After Aoba sealed the source dragon qi, his eyes flashed with joy. Let's get enough dragon qi battle souls first. After Aodi triggers the Dragon Emperor's inheritance, we will act according to plan. Aoba said to Ao Ying, Ao Li, and Ao Xie. Immediately, the 4 of them spread out and began to search for dragon qi battle souls separately. As Qin Yu, Aodi, Aoba, and the others barged in, this ancient battlefield that had been peaceful for countless years seemed to be surging with huge waves. The dragon qi battle souls were killed one after another, and the amount of source dragon qi they plundered was increasing. They could vaguely sense that there was a trace of ancient majestic dragon chi in the depths of this ancient battlefield. In this ancient battlefield that was filled with dragon chi, it seemed to be extremely independent, as if the ancient dragon emperor had reappeared. Aodi, Aoba, and the others sensed it and were greatly surprised. However, when they sensed it carefully, they could not pinpoint its exact location. Somewhere in the ancient battlefield, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul were sitting cross-legged. Around them, the skeleton Ghost King was guarding. Ancient battle dragon art. Qin Yu formed a seal with his hands and circulated his secret art. Traces of source dragon chi were refined and turned into a vast sea of pure dragon chi that covered the two of them. Not long after, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul, who had absorbed the vast dragon chi, had their cultivations skyrocketed. Chapter 575. Boom. Qin Yu, whose cultivation had already reached the peak of second-grade Emperor realm, was struck by the astonishing dragon aura. After cultivating for just over an hour, he had completely broken through and reached the third-grade Emperor realm. As for the Dragon Soul, which was originally a soul body, after absorbing the Dragon Emperor's soul power contained in the dragon aura, its cultivation soared rapidly. His cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds, breaking through several levels in a row and reaching the third-grade Emperor realm. This was the Dragon Soul. It focused on consolidating its foundation and did not blindly break through its cultivation. Otherwise, it might have directly broken through to the fourth-grade Emperor realm. After a full 6 hours, Qin Yu and the Dragon Soul had completely refined all the origin source dragon aura. This dragon aura is really good stuff. The Dragon Soul, whose cultivation had soared, could not hide its excitement. Qin Yu's eyes were also shining. Just a little bit of origin source dragon aura contained such power. This was enough to show what level the Dragon Emperor's cultivation had reached. Qin Yu had always thought that the Dragon Emperor had not reached the ancient immortal realm of the primordial age. Otherwise, he would not have dispersed the eternal dragon country and disappeared without a trace. But now it seemed that the Dragon Emperor had most likely reached the ancient immortal realm. But if he had really reached the ancient immortal realm, then why did he pass away here? With a heart full of doubts, Qin Yu once again walked into the depths of the ancient battlefield. Qin Yu did not know that the origin source dragon aura that he and the Dragon Soul had just refined was related to the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. If he had known, Qin Yu would not have refined it so wantonly. After all, compared to refining and increasing his cultivation now, the Dragon Emperor's inheritance was a better opportunity. Rumble. But after going tens of thousands of miles deep into the ancient battlefield, Qin Yu's eyes flashed slightly and he stopped in the void. In front of him, there was a violent fluctuation of Dao techniques. Judging from the violent fluctuations, it was definitely a battle between two top Emperor realm experts. And the two violent fluctuations of Dao techniques were filled with the fluctuations of the Dragon Clan. It's one of the 4 transformed dragons. The Dragon Soul sensed slightly, and its eyes shone brightly. The 4 transformed dragons had actually made it in. Judging from the dragon energy fluctuations, it should be the Umbra illusory dragon of the 4 transformed dragon race. Immediately, Qin Yu restrained his aura and hid in the void, quietly approaching. Very soon, a shocking battle that swept across tens of thousands of miles of the ancient battlefield appeared before Qin Yu's eyes. In the void, there was a huge black shadow that was thousands of feet long. It was rolling between heaven and earth with dreamy black light. Just as the Dragon Soul had sensed, the huge black shadow was the Umbra illusory dragon. Ao Ying's opponent was the Dragon Chi fighting soul that was thousands of feet long. The Dragon Chi fighting soul's cultivation was far beyond that of an ordinary top Emperor master. He was like an ancient giant that could suppress the 9 heavens and 10 earths. Ao Ying, who had the cultivation of a top Emperor realm master, was forced to reveal his true form by the Dragon Chi fighting soul. Clearly, Ao Ying had reached a critical juncture. She had no choice but to reveal her true form and use her origin ability secret technique. Qin Yu observed in the dark for a moment and immediately began to deploy. Ancient and mysterious curses silently merged into the void. Swoosh. Swoosh. After the battle lasted for a quarter of an hour, Ao Ying used the origin ability of Shenren's 1000 illusionary shadows. The huge black shadow suddenly turned into billions of rays of black light that fell from the sky like meteors. The dragon chi fighting soul that seemed to have gained sentience was pierced by the black light and collapsed with a loud bang. A stream of origin dragon chi over 100 zhong long appeared in the sky. Ao Ying returned to his true form. A look of extreme excitement appeared on his pale face. The dragon chi fighting soul was so huge that it was comparable to killing tens of thousands of dragon chi fighting souls. This was why Ao Ying did not hesitate to reveal his true form and use the forbidden secret technique. Buzz. Buzz. However, just as Ao Ying was about to capture the dragon chi fighting soul and leave, in the void, there was a mysterious tremor of the formation inscriptions. Ao Ying instantly sensed it, and his expression changed. He found that the void within a radius of hundreds of miles had become distorted and trembling. Then, a shocking scene appeared. With Ao Ying as the center, hundreds of miles of heaven and earth turned into a turbulent space. This was the dragon soul's new superpower, the space-time empty world. In the space-time empty world, not only was it filled with chaotic space-time energy, but it was also filled with inscriptions. The entire space-time empty world had become a forbidden zone for divine arrays. Who exactly is it? Black dragon scales appeared all over Ao Ying's body. He was on high alert and could not hide the fear in his eyes. To be able to create an empty space in just a short while. This meant that the person who had done this had shocking attainments in the space Tao. This made Ao Ying, who originally thought that it was Aodi who had done this, eliminate this thought. He knew Aodi very well. Aodi would definitely not use such a method to create an empty space. Before Ao Ying could guess for long, the void shook slightly. A figure appeared in the void. It was Qin Yu. Human clan? No, he has at least 3 types of dragon clan bloodlines in him. Ao Ying sized up Qin Yu coldly. The fear in his eyes grew. Qin Yu's cultivation was far inferior to his, but he felt a sense of danger from him. What really surprised Ao Ying was the dragon clan bloodline in Qin Yu's body. 3 types of dragon clan bloodlines in one body. This was completely beyond Ao Ying's understanding. Even among the dragon clan in the extraterritorial region, there had never been someone with 3 types of dragon clan bloodlines. It seems that you have already sensed the dragon clan bloodline in me, Qin Yu said calmly. Who are you? Ao Ying's eyes suddenly became as sharp as a sword when he heard this. But under that sharpness, there was also an unconcealable sense of seriousness. I am the person who will create the eternal dragon nation and become the new dragon emperor, Qin Yu said. Create the eternal dragon nation? Become the dragon emperor? Shameless boasting. Ao Ying sneered coldly. He was considered one of the top existences in the extraterritorial region. Even so, he did not dare to have the ambition to become the dragon emperor in the tomb of the dragon emperor. Now, Qin Yu, a person who he did not know whether or not was a dragon clan bloodline, dared to say that he was the dragon clan bloodline. How dare he boast about becoming the dragon emperor? He must be daydreaming. Whether I am boasting or not, you will know when you see it for yourself. With an intention from Qin Yu, primal chaos dragon energy appeared in the void behind him. A vast primal chaos dragon realm appeared. 4 huge dragon silhouettes appeared in the chaos dragon domain. Black Sea is in his hands. When Ao Ying saw the 4 dragons, he could not help but be stunned. The last time Dragon Emperor Aoba had sent Black Sea to the heavenly region, there had been an accident. Ao Ying and the others had thought that Black Sea had died. They did not expect Black Sea to be in Qin Yu's hands. And the golden flame heaven incinerating dragon, the purple lightning heaven dragon, and the chaotic dragon race? But when he saw the dragon soul, Ao Ying's eyes were filled with shock that could not be dispelled. He could not identify the dragon species of the dragon soul, but the chaotic dragon chi on the dragon soul could only appear in the legends of the ancient immortal dragon clan. Chapter 576. Ao Ying was stunned when he saw the dragon soul with the chaotic dragon aura. His original judgment of Qin Yu's shameless boasting also changed greatly. The golden flame heavenly dragon and divine firmament world annihilating dragon were extremely rare primordial dragon species. However, they had the dragon the arch bloodline in their bodies, and their potential was not weaker than those two. However, the chaotic dragon species could be said to be a rare dragon species. Qin Yu was actually able to make the primal chaos dragon submit. Exactly what was his background? Submit to me, and when I become the arch in the future, all of you will be crowned emperors. Seeing that Ao Ying's mind was wavering, Qin Yu quickly said, "It's not impossible for me to submit to you, but you have to get the approval of my dragon emperor first." Ao Ying's expression changed for a while before he looked at Qin Yu and said, Don't worry, I will subdue your dragon emperor as well. However, I can't let you meet him now." Qin Yu had lived 2 lives, so it was impossible for him not to see that Ao Ying was stalling for time. Immediately, Qin Yu's mind moved, and the divine incantation restrictions in the space-time mirage all trembled slightly. In that case, there's no need to waste time talking. Seeing that his scheme had been exposed, Ao Ying's eyes immediately turned cold. The dragon race had always prided themselves as the strongest race in the universe. Even the powerful cultivators of the same race found it difficult to unify the entire dragon race. As a dragon with the arch bloodline flowing in his body, Ao Ying naturally would not submit to a half-blooded human dragon. As expected, I still have to make a move. 5 gods sky. Qin Yu was not surprised. If he wanted to subdue the dragon race, he would have to be very powerful. Otherwise, they would have to be forcefully suppressed to make them submit. Of course, this forceful suppression was not like in his previous life, where they would die if they did not submit. Just like when he killed the sky dragon in the Black Sea, Qin Yu still did not crush his dragon soul. When Qin Yu was strong enough, he would naturally have the means to make them submit completely. But at this stage, if he could not suppress them, then he could only directly kill them and take their dragon origin blood. As the formation trembled, 5 lifelike formation giants appeared in the ethereal extent. It was the 5 gods heaven subduing formation. Following Qin Yu's breakthrough in cultivation, the power of the 5 gods heaven subduing formation also increased by a level. Rumble. Ao Ying, who had just fought with the dragon Qi fighting soul, had used her secret technique to win. Qin Yu, who was well prepared, went all out and was defeated one after another. Not only is he proficient in the Tao of space, but he also controls the primordial divine formation. Ao Ying, whose injuries were becoming more and more serious, was even more shocked when she tried to defend herself. He finally understood why he felt such a strong sense of danger towards Qin Yu. Ao Ying was also increasingly curious about Qin Yu's background. Even though he knew that Aodi wouldn't find an ordinary person to join forces with. However, Qin Yu's mysterious methods were still completely out of Ao Ying's expectations. If this goes on, we'll really be suppressed. Qin Yu suffered another heavy blow, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. Ao Ying's eyes flashed with a vicious light. Superpower, 1000 illusionary shadow Tao. Without any hesitation, Ao Ying revealed his true form. Soon after, a dazzling black light appeared on the enormous dragon body that was tens of thousands of feet long and blotted out the sun. In the next instant, the dazzling black light appeared once again. It was like a meteor shower that shot out in all directions. Every ray of dazzling black light had an ultimate illusion that would cause anyone who saw it to be mesmerized. The dragon Qi fighting soul from before had lost its life to this superpower. Destroy. However, Qin Yu didn't panic at all. His black pupils flickered. The ultimate illusionary techniques of the dazzling black light falling from the sky were all seen through by him. Swoosh. In a flash, Qin Yu appeared in front of the black light like a ghost and pointed his finger. The space immediately turned into a swamp and the black light that was tearing through the sky slowed down by several times. The Dragon Soul's spacetime superpower slowed down the flow of time. How can this be? A figure appeared in the black light. It was Ao Ying. Seeing that Qin Yu had instantly seen through his true form, Ao Ying was extremely shocked. His ability to escape could be counted with one's fingers even in the outer realm dragon race. Apart from that divine ancestor, this was the first time Ao Ying had encountered something like this. Whoosh, whoosh. Without waiting for Ao Ying to react, Qin Yu attacked again. The 5 divine curses ancient array immediately turned into 5 divine curses that shot through the sky and wrapped around Ao Ying. Ao Ying's thousand illusionary shadow Dao was the power of shadows and the ultimate illusion Dao. Even among the countless illusionary Dao, it was definitely a top superpower. Unfortunately, all Daos in the world had something that countered them. The ghost ancestor Divine Eye's destruction superpower not only had the power to destroy, but it could also see through illusions. It could be said that Ao Ying's origin superpower was perfectly countered by the ghost ancestor Divine Eye. Seal, as the five-god sky subduing formation wrapped around Ao Ying, Qin Yu formed a hand seal and prepared to seal Ao Ying's dragon soul. Dragon Emperor Divine Seal. But at this moment, Ao Ying, who knew that she could not escape, suddenly shone with a black crystal-like light. Then, there was a cracking sound, and Ao Ying was completely frozen by the black crystal. Looking at Ao Ying, who had turned into a black crystal, Qin Yu raised his eyebrows and the sky-splitting divine spear appeared. With a thrust of the spear, the black crystal clanked, but it did not move at all, let alone shatter. This is. Qin Yu carefully sensed for a moment, and a strange look flashed across his eyes. This crystal seems to be refined from some kind of dragon bone. The dragon soul appeared and also sensed with rapt attention. It's very likely that it's the dragon bone of a divine dragon. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. A divine dragon was equivalent to an ancient emperor of the human race. If one's cultivation was high enough, a divine dragon could completely crush an ancient emperor of the same level with their own superpower. After thinking for a moment, Qin Yu put away Ao Ying, who had turned into a black crystal. With Qin Yu's knowledge and skills, it was not impossible to break this black crystal. But now, he did not have the time to do so. After all, Ao Ying was already in his hands. This cooked duck could not escape. After the dragon's soul dissipated, Qin Yu continued to walk towards the ancient battlefield. He hunted dragon chi fighting souls while looking for other transformed dragons. He also searched for the Dragon Emperor's legacy. Although he did not know much about the Dragon Emperor's tomb, Qin Yu was very sure. This ancient battlefield definitely had something to do with the Dragon Emperor's tomb. It was a pity that Ao Ying had used a secret technique to seal herself. Otherwise, Qin Yu would have been able to find out the exact location of the Dragon Emperor's tomb from her. This is, almost as Ao Ying used the Dragon Emperor's divine sealing technique to seal herself, in the central region of the ancient battlefield. A figure who had just killed a dragon chi fighting soul seemed to have sensed something, and his body suddenly froze. Ao Ying, something happened. This person was the Dragon Emperor of the extraterritorial dragon tribe, Aoba. Aoba looked at a dark grey dragon scale in his palm, his eyes filled with disbelief. Ao Ying had used the Dragon Emperor's divine sealing technique. This meant that Ao Ying was at the brink of death. Chapter 577. That was why Aoba was so shocked. In terms of combat strength, Ao Ying wasn't the strongest among the four of them. But in terms of escaping, even Aoba wasn't sure if he could trap Ao Ying. Was there a forbidden area in the ancient battlefield that Ao Ying couldn't escape from? Or could it be that someone had trapped Ao Ying? To be honest, Aoba hoped that it was the first possibility. After all, this was the tomb of the Dragon Emperor. It was normal for the first possibility to appear. But if it was the second possibility, then there would be too many variables. Thinking of this, Aoba sent a trace of soul power into the grey dragon scale on his palm. What's going on? I can't sense where Ao Ying is. After sensing for a while, Aoba was shocked and in disbelief. The grey dragon scale was one of Ao Ying's origin dragon scales. To deal with this situation, Aoba had sealed the origin dragon scales of Ao Ying and the other two. Aoba didn't expect that he couldn't sense where Ao Ying was even with the origin dragon scales. After a while, Aoba immediately sent a message to Ao Li and Ao Xie. The inheritance of the Dragon Emperor was the most important, but he had to find out where Ao Ying was. Ao Ying, Ao Li, Ao Xie, and Xian Hai were all Aoba's right-hand men. After Xian Hai, who was in charge of the 9 prefectures, met with an accident, Aoba lost all information about the 9 prefectures. Therefore, Ao Ying, who was in charge of some important areas, couldn't meet with any accident. 2 days later. I'm finally here. At the end of the ancient battlefield, a figure walked in the air in front of a grey area. This person was Aodi. Aodi couldn't hide the excitement in his eyes when he felt the blood in his body boiling. After 2 days of battle, Aodi, who had been killing the Dragon Chi fighting souls, finally crossed the ancient battlefield. After taking a deep breath, Aodi stepped into the grey area and disappeared. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Not long after Aodi entered, 3 silhouettes silently flew through the air and arrived. The Grand Elder is right. We can only find the inheritance of the Dragon Emperor by following him. Aoxie looked at the grey area and his eyes lit up. He had flown back and forth several times when he was hunting the Dragon Aura battle souls. However, he didn't find anything strange here. To his surprise, he had followed Aodi all the way back to this place. Aoba looked at that area and then at the surrounding area. His brows were slightly furrowed as if he was sensing something. Dragon Emperor, the most important thing now is to obtain the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. Aoli saw Aoba's expression and knew that Aoba was searching for Aoying's whereabouts. During these 2 days, they had traversed an unknown number of places in this ancient battlefield, yet they still hadn't found a trace of Aoying. Previously, they had suspected that Aoying had fallen into Aodi's hands. However, they hadn't sensed Aoying's aura on Aodi during their journey here. That's right. Since Aoying has used the Dragon Emperor's godly sealing technique, she won't be in any danger for the time being. Moreover, if Aoying is really trapped somewhere in the ancient battlefield, only you who have obtained the Dragon Emperor's inheritance will be able to rescue him. Upon seeing this, Aoxie also spoke up. Aoba was the strongest dragon son among the many dragon sons of the Outer Realm Dragon Clan. Xiao Chen was praised by the Supreme Elder as a demonic genius who might reach the level of the Dragon Emperor. Now that the Dragon Emperor's inheritance was right in front of him, Aoxie naturally didn't want Aoba to give up this opportunity. Although the Dragon Clan was now comparable to the extraterritorial royal clans in the Outer Realm. However, as the Supreme Elder grew older day by day, there were no new divine heavenly sovereigns. The extraterritorial Dragon Clan's situation was getting more and more delicate. Therefore, they urgently needed Aodi to obtain the Dragon Emperor's inheritance and become a divine Dragon Clan member. As long as the Dragon Clan had one more divine heavenly sovereign, their status would be greatly elevated regardless of whether they were in the Outer Realm or the heavenly domain. Let's go. Aoba's eyes flashed as he made up his mind. His goal was to recreate the glory of the Dragon Clan during the Dragon Emperor's time. Although he was worried about Aoying's safety, he couldn't afford to lose the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. If he had to choose between the two, Aoba would naturally choose the Dragon Emperor's inheritance without hesitation. Immediately, the 3 of them followed Aodi and rushed into the dusky area. Whoosh! When Aoba and the other 2 disappeared, a figure swept across the void and appeared. What secret skill did they use? Qin Yu's eyes flickered as he looked at Aoba and the other 2 who had disappeared. Whether it was Aoying, whom he had met earlier, or Aoba and the other 2 now, they couldn't detect them with their secret skills. Unless they revealed their own fluctuations, even the Dragon Soul's secret skill couldn't detect their presence. That was probably why Aodi, who was extremely vigilant, didn't notice that they were secretly following them. Whoosh! After pausing for a moment, Qin Yu also moved and rushed into the dusky area. The moment he entered, Qin Yu's expression changed. The greyish color that filled this area was actually a stream of air that resembled the primal chaos dragon chi of the Dragon Soul. However, it wasn't dragon chi, but an extremely strange power. This is... Qin Yu turned around to look. His face was filled with shock. Although he had just taken a step into the area, he could see the dusky area behind him. He couldn't see the end of it in all directions. This area was actually an independent world. In other words, this dusky world was like the 9 provinces of the Heaven Domain. It wasn't like the ordinary spatial secret realms, void spaces, or chaotic spaces. This made Qin Yu extremely shocked. What kind of cultivation did one have to be able to create a real world? Qin Yu was more and more certain that even if the Dragon Emperor hadn't stepped into the rumored ancient immortal realm of the primordial age, he had already reached the ancient immortal realm. He had definitely crossed the 9th level of the martial path and stepped into a whole new level of cultivation. Rumble. Suddenly, a frightening ripple that caused the entire place to tremble continuously spread out from the depths of the cave. A vast and unfathomable dragon's might swept out like a stormy sea, suppressing the entire world in an instant. Qin Yu, who was standing in the air, suddenly descended several hundred feet. It was as if an enormous mountain was pressing down on him at this moment. What a terrifying soul power fluctuation. The dragon soul in the divine dragon ancient seal felt the terrifying dragon aura, and its eyes suddenly lit up like stars. That soul power fluctuation was the fluctuation of the dragon clan's soul. So far, the dragon soul had never felt such a terrifying dragon soul fluctuation. Without a doubt, this dragon soul pressure was definitely left behind by the Dragon Emperor. Qin Yu directly descended from the sky and escaped into the ground. In the center of this dusky world, there was a mountain range of stone bones that stretched for tens of thousands of miles. At the end of the mountain range of corpses, there was a skeleton that was tens of thousands of feet tall. If one looked carefully, they would be able to discover that the skeleton was a huge dragon head. This mountain range of stone bones that stretched for tens of thousands of miles was not a stone bone, but a skeleton of Shenron that was tens of thousands of miles long. Chapter 578. Whoosh. Suddenly, a figure flew over from the distant void and landed directly on top of the huge dragon head skeleton. The person who flew over was the descendant of the Dragon Emperor, Aodi. Aodi looked at the dragon skeleton carefully and finally came to a certain part of the skeleton. There was a Shenron imprint that was a few inches large on the skeleton. Divine Dragon Emperor imprint. Aodi was ecstatic. He took out all the origin dragon chi that he had sealed in the ancient battlefield. The origin dragon chi had faintly formed a dragon. Aodi had obtained a lot of it. Condensing dragon imprint, fuse dragon blood. After condensing the origin dragon chi into a divine dragon imprint, Aodi opened his right hand. In the center of his palm, ancient dragon patterns spread out, and a drop of crystal-clear dragon blood appeared. The dragon blood floated up and fused with the divine dragon imprint. Immediately, a deep golden dragon blood divine seal condensed and appeared. Unseal. Aodi bellowed as he sent the condensed dragon blood deity seal into the divine dragon mark. The moment the two touched, the thousands of miles of Shenron stone bones trembled violently. Streaks of mysterious dragon runes filled the entire stone bone. Roar. In the next moment, a dazzling divine light shot out from the Shenron imprint that had fused with Aodi's divine dragon blood imprint. Amidst the dazzling divine light, a huge divine dragon appeared, circling and dancing in the sky. A loud dragon roar sounded, shaking the 9 heavens and sweeping across the sky. Rumble. Then, a deafening roar sounded. The stone bones with countless dragon tattoos flew into the sky and fused with the giant Shenron. Immediately, the giant Shenron that had fused with the stone bones was like the Dragon Emperor that had come back to life. Vast and mighty dragon might spread out, suppressing the universe. The Dragon Emperor's inheritance has finally appeared. Aodi was so excited that his figure began to tremble. Burning dragon soul, offering dragon spirit. Without hesitation, Aodi spoke the ancient and mysterious language of the dragon tribe. Aodi's body emitted a strong dragon blood aura. If one could see through it, one would be able to see that the dragon blood in Aodi's body was boiling. The boiling water was like boiling water, and it looked extremely terrifying. As the dragon blood in Aodi's body boiled, faint golden dragon patterns appeared. Roar. Another heaven-shaking dragon roar came from the huge Shenron in the sky. At this moment, Aodi, whose dragon blood was boiling and who was chanting the dragon incantation, seemed to be resonating with the giant Shenron. Dragon summoning technique. When the resonance between the two reached a limit, Aodi formed a hand seal and shouted. Crack. A deafening sound that sounded like a thunderclap and the collapse of the sky resounded throughout the heavens and the earth. From the Shenron in the sky, a divine light like the Milky Way descended. His target was Aodi, who was forming hand seals. If one took a closer look, they would discover that The divine light that resembled the Milky Way was condensed from extremely pure dragon energy and translucent dragon blood. Aodi's body emitted a rich wave of dragon blood. Compared to the dragon aura and dragon blood, Aodi's dragon blood was much stronger. It was like a small child in the presence of a great sorcerer. There was no comparison between the two. Seeing the divine light descending, Aodi's excited face flushed red. He had prepared for so many years, and he was finally about to obtain the supreme inheritance of the former Dragon Emperor. Seal. But just as the divine light was about to land on Aodi, a cold shout suddenly rang out. "This is..." Aodi's body shook violently, and his pupils shrank to the size of needles. It was not only because he recognized that the cold shout was from Aoba, who he had blocked outside the tomb of the Dragon Emperor. It was also because an ancient secret incantation had appeared in his heart. The moment the secret incantation appeared, thousands of threads shot out and pierced through Aodi's limbs and bones. In an instant, Aodi was completely sealed, and he could not move at all. Swoosh, swoosh. 3 extremely fast wind-breaking sounds appeared. Just as the wind-breaking sounds were heard, 3 figures appeared in front of Aodi. They were Aoba, Aoli, and Aosia. Dragon imprisoning secret incantation? Aodi, who was sealed, stared at Aoba and the other 2 with cold, murderous eyes. The dragon imprisoning incantation was the most mysterious ancient secret incantation of the extraterritorial dragon tribe. It could be said that this secret incantation was specially created to deal with the dragon tribe. Currently, only one person in the extraterritorial dragon tribe had completely mastered the dragon imprisoning incantation. That was the only divine heavenly sovereign in the extraterritorial dragon tribe, the Supreme Elder. Aoba and Aodi had fought because of the Supreme Elder's decision that Aodi was expelled from the tribe. Aodi did not expect the Supreme Elder to leave the dragon imprisoning incantation in his body. Could it be? A thought suddenly appeared in Aodi's mind. All these years, he had been preparing to enter the tomb of the Dragon Emperor in the Heaven Domain. It was impossible for the extraterritorial dragon tribe not to find him, but they had never interfered. They only appeared recently. Could it be that they were waiting for him to summon the Dragon Emperor's inheritance? The Dragon Emperor's inheritance. Aoba looked at the divine light that had disappeared as Aodi was sealed. He almost could not suppress the ecstasy and excitement on his face. After waiting for so many years, he had finally waited for this moment. That old man planned to support you from the beginning. Aodi's face twitched slightly as he spoke coldly. The killing intent in his voice was almost tangible. There is no such thing as support or not support. All of this is just the winner takes all. If I had lost the battle back then and was unwilling to submit to the winner like you, what do you think would have happened to me? Therefore, you should be glad that you are the only one who can summon the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. Otherwise, when you were unwilling to submit to me back then, it would not have been as simple as being expelled from the tribe. Aoba said indifferently. They could enter the tomb of the Dragon Emperor without anyone knowing and come to the world of the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. All of this was indeed the result of the Supreme Elder's secret arrangements. But the most important thing was that he had defeated Aodi and become the Dragon Emperor. Otherwise, he would have been the one who had been schemed against by the Supreme Elder. You, whose origin bloodline is only at the divine heavenly sovereign, do you think you can get the Dragon Emperor's inheritance as you wish? Aodi's gloomy face faintly turned ferocious when he heard this. It is indeed a little difficult, but with you here, it is not a problem. A cold smile appeared on Aoba's face. If not, what was in Aodi's body would not be the dragon imprisoning curse. You want to possess my body? Aodi immediately understood that this was the only way Aoba could get the Dragon Emperor's inheritance as he wished. Where is Ao Ying? Aoba did not reply. Instead, he asked. Because his plan was indeed to possess Aodi's Dragon Emperor bloodline. Ao Ying. Aodi was stunned. He just noticed that Ao Ying was indeed missing from Aoba and the others. Ao Ying was missing. Countless thoughts flashed through Aodi's mind, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Qinyu. If there was anyone in the tomb of the Dragon Emperor who could suppress a top martial emperor-level dragon, it could only be Qin Yu. One must know that it was extremely possible for Qin Yu to be the Dragon God Emperor from 1,000 years ago. Qin Yu had already attacked Aoba and the others. This was definitely good news for Aodi. Chapter 579. Dragon Imprisoning Curse. Aoba's eyes flashed when he saw Aodi's expression change. Even if Ao Ying's disappearance had nothing to do with Aodi, he must know something. Dragon Soul Seal, Dragon Bone Seal, Dragon Blood Seal, Dragon Spirit Seal. Aoba did not hesitate. He formed a seal with both hands and activated the Dragon Imprisoning Curse in Aodi's body. Dragon Spirit Possession. At this moment, Aodi, who was sealed by the restrictive spell, suddenly shouted. Aodi did not do anything, but the golden dragon runes in his boiling dragon blood immediately turned into a divine curse. Then, a beam of golden divine light appeared from the golden divine curse. It shot up into the sky from Aodi's head and merged with the giant Shenron flying in the sky. In the next instant, a dragon spirit with mighty dragon might descended from the giant divine dragon. Oh no! Seal. Aoba immediately activated the dragon imprisoning curse when he saw the terrifying dragon spirit descending. Boom! Almost at this moment, a torrential shockwave exploded from Aodi's body. Aoba and the other two, who were closest to it, were all sent flying hundreds of feet away. Damn it! Aoba's body was covered in light brown dragon scales. A primordial aura was emitted from those light brown dragon scales. Two halos, one yin and one yang, appeared and formed a yin and yang diagram to block the shockwave. Ao Li and Ao Xie entered their half-dragon forms and used their origin dragon race mystiques to stabilize their bodies. Dragon Emperor's spirit? He could feel the dragon spirit fluctuations coming from Aodi's body. Ao Li and Ao Xie's expressions were extremely grave. The dragon bloodline in their bodies was greatly suppressed by the dragon spirit's aura. The dragon's aura was so terrifying that it was definitely not something that Aodi could possess. I really can't break free from the dragon imprisoning curse. Aodi, who had summoned the Dragon Emperor's spirit possession, emitted a shocking cold aura. The power of the primordial ice crystal spread out, freezing the sky and sealing the earth. Even Aodi's flesh and bones were frozen. Even so, the dragon imprisoning curse in Aodi's body was not affected by the Dragon Emperor's spirit. Attack! Aoba noticed it instantly, and he didn't hesitate in the slightest to immediately pounce out. The yin-yang taiji diagram around him spun crazily, turning into a yin-yang divine light and rushing out. Aoba's true form was a primordial evil nether dragon. He should have awakened his primordial evil nether power. In the end, there was a mutation. He awakened the primordial yin-yang power and his strength increased greatly. After all, amongst the laws of the Grand Tao, the five elements and yin and yang were Daoist arts that possessed boundless evolution. In ancient times, there was such a saying. The five elements combined with yin and yang gathered the chaos, and the chaos created the world. Aoba was able to replace Aodi in the extraterritorial dragon clan because he had awakened the primordial yin-yang force. Great Yin Destruction Curse. Ao Li's eyes seemed to be burning with flames. They were dazzling and seemed to be able to see through everything in the world. 100-foot-long ancient spell surrounded by Tai-Yin Chi appeared behind him. A mysterious and unfathomable fluctuation was emitted from the ancient divine incantation, and its power was monstrous. Earth Fiend Spirit Communication Art. Ao Xie, who followed closely behind, immediately revealed the true form of the Earth Fiend Evil Devouring Dragon. As the dragon scales flickered with a mysterious light, waves of bone-chilling cold ripples spread out. That was the Earth Fiend energy, which contained an endless amount of evil yin power. After the Earth malevolent energy surged out, it condensed into a myriad of strange phantoms. Those shadows seemed to have come from the primordial divine wilderness, and they contained an unparalleled pressure. Break. Aodi, who was surrounded, did not panic at all. After a cold roar, ancient dragon patterns appeared on the icy dragon scales all over his body. Following that, beams of dazzling light pierced through the void and swept out in all directions. The void was like the surface of water, and layers of ripples appeared. The origin mystiques that Aoba, Aoli, and Aosia used were all sealed by the primordial ice crystals. The enhancement from the Dragon Emperor's spirit is so terrifying. Aoba's expression darkened, and his eyes narrowed. That Dragon Emperor's spirit was definitely just a small portion of the Dragon Emperor's spirit power. However, even if it was just a small portion, it allowed Aodi, who was weaker than him, to easily block the attacks of the three of them. The increase in strength was so great that it was frightening. Yin-Yang Spirit Chaos Art. Of course, the extraterritorial Dragon Clan had prepared many methods to obtain the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. Aoba, whose attack was blocked by the Dragon Emperor's spirit power, had a thought. Ancient dragon power appeared in each of his palms. The two dragon powers were yin and yang respectively. When Aoba clapped his hands together, they formed a yin-yang dragon power. A trace of extremely difficult to detect but extremely chaotic fluctuation spread out from the yin-yang dragon power. This is, Aodi, who was originally charging out with a murderous aura with the Dragon Emperor's spirit power, trembled, and his expression changed slightly. At this moment, Aodi clearly felt that the dragon blood in his body was greatly disturbed. The disturbance was so great that he felt that his dragon power and Dao techniques were out of his control. 4 Divine Sky Suppression. Aoba, Aosia, and Aoli immediately took the opportunity to appear in 3 different directions around Aodi. The 3 of their auras merged, and their dragon powers merged to form a mysterious ancient formation that imprisoned Aodi. This 4 Divine Sky Suppression formation was prepared to prevent the dragon imprisoning curse from losing its effect. It was supposed to be used by the 4 of them, but Ao Ying went missing, so only the 3 of them could use it. 9 Dragons Destroying the World. Aodi, who was under the effects of the dragon imprisoning curse and the 4 Divine Sky Suppression formation, did not lose immediately due to the dragon spirit power in his body. On the contrary, Aodi seemed to have entered a frenzied state. He executed a terrifying secret technique, and his strength skyrocketed. Rumble. An earth-shattering battle took place between the heavens and earth, sweeping across the sky. The battle between the 4 top-notch dragon races could be said to be apocalyptic. Luckily, they were in the tomb of the Dragon Emperor. If they were in the outside world, countless living beings would be dragged in. While Aodi was fighting Aoba and the other 2, a figure quietly approached from outside the chaotic battle. It was Qin Yu. They are all here. As Qin Yu looked at the 4 dragon transformation clansmen fighting a great battle, his eyes shined brightly. He had come to the tomb of the Dragon Emperor for the Dragon Emperor's succession and the other transformed dragons. Now that both had appeared before him, Qin Yu could not suppress the excitement in his heart. Looks like Aodi is going to lose. After watching the battle for a while, Qin Yu could clearly see that Aodi's dragon spirit power was gradually weakening. As the dragon spirit power weakened, Aodi's battle strength was also weakening. Under the effects of the dragon imprisoning curse, the yin-yang spirit disruption technique, and the 4 divine sky suppression formation, Aodi's situation was getting worse. Aodi's situation was getting more and more dangerous. It was only a matter of time before he was defeated. At this point, space-time ripples appeared around Qin Yu, and he disappeared without anyone noticing. Aoba, Aodi, and the others, who were fighting crazily, did not notice that there were ancient runes flashing and disappearing from time to time. Chapter 580. Rumble. After the violent battle lasted for half an hour, there was a deafening explosion. The explosion was as loud as thunder, spreading across the sky. Aodi, who was trapped in a tight encirclement, was blasted by the secret technique cast by Aoba and the other 2. The dragon spirit energy on Aodi was shattered, and the primordial ice crystals that sealed the void also cracked. Oh no! Aodi sensed it, and his expression changed. Not only was he under the dragon enslavement curse, but he was also suppressed by the yin-yang spirit confusion technique and the 4 guardians heaven suppression formation. Now that he had lost his dragon spirit energy, he was like a tiger that had lost its claws and fangs, surrounded by 3 wolves. 4 guardians spirit sealing. When Aoba saw this, his eyes flashed as he shouted in a low voice. Ao Li and Ao Xie understood what he meant and attacked together. The three of them had dragon spirit divine light on their bodies, and they merged with each other. In the center of the Four Guardians' Heaven Suppression Formation, a towering statue formed and fell from the sky toward Aodi. Whoosh! Just as Aodi was about to be suppressed by the statue, a faint black light shot across the sky. With a loud bang, that towering divine statue was directly blasted away. Who's there? This sudden turn of events caused the smiles on the faces of Aoba and the other two to freeze. They turned around abruptly and looked in the direction of the faint black light. Could it be? Aodi was stunned for a moment, but he quickly reacted. There was only one person who could appear in the Dragon Emperor's tomb at this time and attack Aoba and the other two. Qin Yu. In order to prevent Qin Yu from obtaining the Dragon Emperor's inheritance, Aodi had not seen Qin Yu since he entered the Dragon Emperor's tomb. He did not expect Qin Yu to find the Dragon Emperor's world of inheritance. Along with the wind, a figure appeared in the void. Just as Aodi had anticipated, the person who attacked earlier was Qin Yu. Of course, the reason why Qin Yu saved Aodi was not because he had a friendship with Aodi. It was purely because Aodi was also his hunting target, and he could not let Aoba get Aodi. It's you. Aoba and the other two were naturally familiar with the helper that Aodi found, Qin Yu. They had seen it when Qin Yu had broken through the boundary of the Dragon Emperor's tomb. However, Qin Yu's cultivation was far inferior to Aodi's. He was not even a high-level sovereign venerable yet. Therefore, none of them took Qin Yu seriously. But just now, Qin Yu's attack was actually able to directly blast away the power of the four symbols divine formation that the three of them had joined forces. This kind of battle prowess was definitely not below that of a top emperor master. This caused them to be unable to help themselves from carefully sizing up Qin Yu. But very quickly, the attention of Aoba and the other two fell onto the surrounding space. Previously, they had been suppressing Aodi with all their might, so they did not notice it. Now that Qin Yu had made his move, they immediately discovered that there were dense array pattern fluctuations in the surrounding void. That was clearly the fluctuation of a formation, and it was no ordinary formation. To be able to set up such a formation, who on earth could it be? Aoba carefully sensed the faintly discernible fluctuation of the array pattern, which was like a sky full of stars, and his gaze turned grave. The formation in the void was so terrifying that it made him feel extremely threatened. Did Ao Ying fall into your hands? After a thought flashed through his mind, Aoba coldly asked Qin Yu. Only a few of them had entered the Dragon Emperor's tomb. If it was not Aodi, then it could only be Qin Yu. With Qin Yu's formation, even with Ao Ying's superpower, she would not be able to escape. If you are talking about the Umbra Illusion Dragon, then he has already submitted to me. Qin Yu said indifferently. You are courting death. Aoba's eyes were filled with murderous intent. With a roar, he slammed his palm toward Qin Yu. The air exploded layer by layer, like rolling waves sweeping over, wreaking havoc. Rip! However, before Aoba's attack could get close to Qin Yu, it was blocked by the ancient and mysterious formation in the void and torn to pieces. What a terrifying dragon might! When Ao Li and Ao Xie saw this, they were even more shocked. Previously, they had sensed that the formation that Qin Yu had set up was extremely dangerous. However, he did not discover that the formation array that Qin Yu had set up actually contained such a frightening dragon's might. The dragon might was even stronger than them, who were pure-blooded dragons. Why does this guy have such a majestic dragon bloodline in his body? Aoba, who had attacked, sensed it even more clearly. Could it be that Qin Yu had a half-dragon body? However, if he had a half-dragon body, how could the dragon bloodline in his body be so terrifying? Only Aodi could vaguely guess Qin Yu's secret. After all, Aodi had seen Qin Yu take away Aoju's origin bloodline with his own eyes. It was also because of this that Aodi suspected that Qin Yu was the reincarnation of the dragon god. 8 trigrams battle dragon formation, appear. Qin Yu did not give Aoba and the other two time to think. When Aoba attacked, Qin Yu's hands suddenly changed seals. Immediately, with Qin Yu as the center, ancient runes appeared in the void within a radius of thousands of miles. Those ancient runes connected and merged with each other, finally forming 8 lifelike ancient Shinron. If one looked closely, they would notice that the 8 ancient Shinron had formed an 8 trigrams formation in the void. The 8 trigrams battle dragon formation was not an immemorial divine formation or an immortal ancient formation. It was a formation that Qin Yu had created himself. However, it was also one of the most powerful divine formations among the many formations that Qin Yu had. This was because the 8 trigrams battle dragon formation was a divine formation that Qin Yu had created based on the 4th move of the 9 esotericas of the immemorial battle dragon. There were 9 secret techniques of the 9 origins in the immemorial battle dragon arts. As Qin Yu's cultivation increased, their power would continue to increase. The first move, Green Dragon Battle, could increase one's cultivation to the maximum. The second move, Sky Devouring Dragon Seal, could devour all attacks. The third move, Dragon God Tyrannical Body, could forge the strongest dragon body. The fourth move, 8 trigrams Battle Dragon, could comprehend the 8 trigrams and transform into a real dragon. Even when Qin Yu was at his peak in his previous life, he had only learned the first 4 moves of the 9 esotericas of the battle dragon. However, with these 4 secret techniques, Qin Yu was known as the strongest one-on-one among the ancient emperors in the heaven region. In addition, Qin Yu had plundered countless secret techniques of the dragon race. This led to Qin Yu being recognized as the strongest ancient emperor in both the 9 states of the heaven region and the vast outer realm. If not for Xing Luo's scheme, Qin Yu would not have died in the graveyard of the immortal god. The 8 trigrams battle dragon formation was created with the 8 trigrams battle dragon as the foundation. Its power was evident. If Qin Yu could use the 8 trigrams battle dragon now, the power of this formation would be enough to kill Aoba and the others in an instant. Ang 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 ang, as Qin Yu's hands changed seals, the 8 Shinron dragons let out a deafening roar. Then, with a monstrous aura, they broke through the air and pounced towards Aoba and the others. Primordial Yin-Yang Power, Great Yin Destruction Curse, Earth Demon Spirit Communication Technique. Aoba and the others' eyes turned serious as they used their mystiques to attack the 8 Shinron dragons. If not for the 4 Guardian Sky Suppression Formation and the Yin-Yang Spirit Confusion Technique, they would have used them directly. Chapter 581. Break. Seeing Aoba and the other 2 joining hands to attack him, Qin Yu did not hold back. The 8 dragons that broke through the sky intertwined with each other and instantly tore apart the destructive spell. 8 trigrams Dragon Fist. At this moment, black dragon scales appeared all over Qin Yu's body as he turned into a ray of black light and rushed out. Boom! Qin Yu punched out, and the 8 Shinron beams gathered and turned into a divine fist that shattered the sky. Rumble. Aoba and the other 2 who had to face the attack head-on because they had to imprison Aodi were sent flying. With a deafening explosion, the 4 Guardian Sky Suppression Formation was destroyed, and the pressure on Aodi was greatly reduced. This is my chance. Aodi's eyes lit up, and he immediately gathered all the dragon power in his body to suppress the dragon imprisoning spell. 8 trigrams Dragon Imprisoning Spell. However, before Aodi could break free, a low roar sounded. 8 lifelike Shinron beams appeared in the air and instantly bound Aodi. It was Qin Yu. Under the attack of the 8 trigrams battle dragon formation, Aodi, who was heavily injured, had no way to break free. This power, how is this possible? Sensing that his bloodline was sealed, Aodi seemed to have realized something and was extremely shocked. Before Aodi could react, Qin Yu punched out. The sky-devouring dragon seal appeared and swallowed Aodi. In the next moment, the divine dragon seal trembled and Aodi appeared out of thin air. Seal. The dragon soul that was already prepared immediately acted and sealed Aodi with the power of the divine dragon seal. Rumble. As Aodi was sealed, the Dragon Emperor's inheritance that appeared disappeared with a loud bang. A strange look flashed in Qin Yu's eyes. It seemed that the Dragon Emperor's inheritance was really related to Aodi. No wonder Aoba and the others wanted to possess Aodi even though the Dragon Emperor's inheritance was right in front of them. This made Qin Yu, who originally wanted to directly imprison Aodi's dragon blood, change his mind. He actually attacked Aodi? This sudden and unforeseen event caused Aoba and the others to be stunned. They originally thought that Qin Yu was Aodi's helper, which was why he attacked them. However, it would appear that the situation was far from what they had imagined. At the very least, when Qin Yu acted to seal Aodi earlier, he was definitely not trying to help Aodi. Could this person be after the succession of the Dragon Emperor too? Aoba's eyes flashed. Judging from Qin Yu's actions, this was the only possibility. Attack. After being surprised for a moment, Aoba immediately rushed out with a murderous aura. No matter what Qin Yu's purpose was, Aodi was related to the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. He could not let Qin Yu be sealed by Aodi just like that. Immediately, Aoba, Ao Li and Ao Xie attacked with all their might. In addition to their respective origin divine abilities, the Four Guardians Heaven Suppression Formation and the Yin-Yang Spirit Chaos Technique were also used. 8 trigrams Battle Dragon Formation, Azure Dragon battling the heavens, 9 Hells Purgatory, Divine Lightning of Annihilation, Golden Flames Heaven Incinerating Fire, Heaven Battling Dragon Technique. Qin Yu did not dodge at all and rushed forward. In the 8 trigrams Battle Dragon Formation, the 8 Shenron dragons surrounded Qin Yu. As the Azure Dragon battling the heavens and the Dragon Race's secret technique were used, Qin Yu's aura suddenly skyrocketed, like a rampaging beast. Then, Qin Yu moved his right hand, and an ancient spear appeared. With a flick of his wrist, Qin Yu became one with the spear, like a dragon emerging from the sea, and stabbed out. Immediately, a dazzling spear aura appeared, and the void was like water, breaking open layer by layer. The primordial yin-yang energy exploded, the great yin destruction curse was torn apart, and the earth demon spirit channeling technique was annihilated. The divine abilities that Aoba and the other two had used were directly shattered by the destructive spear aura. With the 8 trigrams Battle Dragon Formation as the foundation, it merged several dragon races' divine abilities and secret techniques to form the Heaven Battling Dragon Technique. Its power was far stronger than the origin divine abilities that Aoba and the other two had used. How is this possible? Aoba and the other two, who were sent flying by the violent airwaves, were extremely shocked and in disbelief. The reason why they were so shocked was not because their divine abilities were broken. It was because Qin Yu's move just now actually contained several dragon races' origin divine abilities. One had to know that it was not some dragon race's secret technique, but a true dragon race's origin divine ability. Even now, among the dragon race in the outer realm where most of the dragon race gathered, no one could master multiple origin divine abilities. In the entire history of the dragon race, there were only a few existences who had awakened 2 origin divine abilities. As for mastering multiple origin divine abilities, there was only one person above the dragon race. That was the Dragon Emperor who had founded the Eternal Dragon Nation. Why was Qin Yu able to use several dragon race bloodlines and completely different dragon race origin divine abilities? Crack. At that moment, a slight crack appeared on the tip of Qin Yu's spear after the attack. Qin Yu's spear was not a true divine weapon. Therefore, it could not contain the vast power of the Heaven Battling Dragon Technique. This was also the reason why Qin Yu still wanted to forge his own spear even after obtaining a divine weapon like the Godslayer sword. 8 trigrams Battle Dragon Formation, Dragons Battle the Heavens. Although the spear was broken, Qin Yu's attack did not stop at all. With a flash of black light, Qin Yu appeared above Aoba and the other two in an instant. Roar. The spear stabbed out again, and an 8 trigrams ancient formation with vast dragon aura appeared at the tip of the spear. A dragon roar that shook the 9 heavens resounded, and several Shenron dragons suddenly rushed out. If one looked carefully, they would discover that those Shenron dragons were the 9 Hells Purgatory Dragon, Divine Firmament World Annihilation Dragon, Golden Flame Heavenly Incinerating Dragon, Primordial Sky Dragon, Bloodthirsty Sky Dragon, and so on. These were all dragon race bloodlines that Qin Yu had refined before. Following the recovery of his cultivation, Qin Yu's previous life's astonishing techniques were gradually able to be used. Oh no! Seeing those Shenron dragons baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, Aoba and the other two's pupils shrank. These dragons were clearly just condensed, but they gave them a feeling of being alive. This was definitely not something that those Shenron dragons that had evolved from Array Dao could compare to. Splat. Although they defended in time, under Qin Yu's violent attack, their bodies were still shaken. Aoba and the other two's bodies trembled, and they vomited blood continuously. This power. So this is it. Aoba, who was seriously injured, sensed the destructive power raging in his body. As if sensing something, he suddenly reacted. You can actually activate the power of the Dragon Emperor's tomb. Aoba looked at Qin Yu, the shock in his eyes almost tangible. Aoba was even more surprised by Qin Yu's background. Not only did he control several dragon races' mystical powers, but he could also activate the power of the Dragon Emperor's tomb for his own use. Could it be that Qin Yu and the Dragon Emperor were related in some way? It's too late to realize it now. Qin Yu's expression was calm, and there was no change in his expression. With Aoba's cultivation level that was close to the Divine Emperor realm, and with the help of the top emperors, Ao Li and Ao Xie, it was still because he was completely suppressed by Qin Yu. In addition to the 8 trigrams battle dragon formation set up by Qin Yu, there was another point that Qin Yu had activated the power of the Dragon Emperor's tomb. Chapter 582. Back then, when Aodi had given Qin Yu the restrictions of the Dragon Emperor's tomb, thus, Qin Yu managed to thoroughly study those barriers. Therefore, when Qin Yu entered the Dragon Emperor's tomb, he was able to control a small portion of the tomb's power. Although it was not a lot, it was enough for Qin Yu to have a killing move that allowed him to fight above his level. Otherwise, even if he set up the 8 trigrams battle dragon formation, Qin Yu would not be able to suppress Aoba and the other two so thoroughly. Aoba was the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon tribe outside the domain, so his strength was not for show. However, when Aodi was being suppressed by Qin Yu, he had sensed that Qin Yu had activated the power of the Dragon Emperor's tomb. As for Aoba, he had only sensed it after exchanging a few blows with Qin Yu. To a certain extent, Aoba's potential was far below Aodi's. It seemed like there was more to Aodi's expulsion back then. It's about time to end this. Dragon God's might. Of course, Qin Yu was not interested in learning about the internal grudges of the dragon tribe outside the domain. With a thought, the dragon god's ancient seal trembled slightly, and a mighty dragon's might suddenly descended. That dragon's might was much stronger than the Dragon Emperor's spirit that Aodi had possessed. Aoba and the other two, who were heavily injured, were in front of that dragon's might. The dragon tribe bloodline in their bodies was completely suppressed. The dragon god's ancient seal was formed from the immortal ancient Shenron's body, and contained the immortal Great Dragon tribe's might. Roar! Roar! At this critical moment, Aoba and the other two revealed their true forms and turned into 3 majestic Shenron dragons. Even so, their bloodline was still suppressed to the extreme in front of the dragon god's ancient seal's might. Whoosh! Qin Yu, who had activated the power of the Dragon Emperor's tomb again, stabbed out with his spear, and directly tore apart heaven and earth. The dragon scales on Aoba and the other two shattered, and dragon blood spurted out, and their auras weakened rapidly. 8 trigrams battle dragon technique. Since Aoba and the others had discovered that he could draw on the power of the Dragon Emperor's tomb, Qin Yu did not hide it any longer. He gave it his all, drawing on the power of the Dragon Emperor's tomb to its fullest. Aoba and the other two who resisted tenaciously were defeated bit by bit, and were utterly unable to resist Qin Yu's attacks. Sacred Dragon Divine Seal. Aoba suddenly let out a roar that shook the heavens when he was about to be completely sealed by Qin Yu. The broken dragon scales on Aoba's body glowed, and his dragon blood started to burn. Then, in the air above his head, an ancient seal that was brimming with divine power condensed. This pressure, Qin Yu, who was originally planning to use his killing move to suppress the ancient seal, had a slight change in his expression. He stopped his attack and looked at the ancient seal. From that vast and mighty ancient seal, Qin Yu was able to sense an extremely frightening fluctuation. This was not the kind of pressure that a peak emperor could possess, but rather, ancient emperor realm. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes. As someone who had once been a peak ancient emperor, Qin Yu would definitely not be wrong about the ancient Emperor realm's pressure. However, the ancient seal's pressure contained the immortal dragon tribe's pressure. From the looks of it, it should be an ancient Emperor realm expert from the dragon tribe from the outside world. Roar. As if to confirm Qin Yu's guess. An ancient and deep dragon roar came from the divine might dragon seal. Then, an illusory dragon shadow appeared with the ancient seal as the center. Even though it was just an illusory figure, the boundless might of the ancient emperor gushed out from it. Grand Elder. Seeing that shadow, Ao Li and Ao Xie's expressions brightened greatly. They had thought that not only would they not be able to obtain the Dragon Emperor's inheritance, but they would also not be able to escape this calamity. But they had not expected the Grand Elder to have such a trick up his sleeve. In front of an ancient emperor expert, even if Qin Yu could draw on the power of the Dragon Emperor's tomb, he would not be able to do anything. Dragon Tribe's origin bloodline? The power of the Dragon Emperor's tomb? Origin mystique ripples? The ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow looked at the heavily injured Aoba and the other two before looking at Qin Yu. After looking at him for a while, a strange look appeared in his eyes. Although Qin Yu's body was covered in black dragon scales, Qin Yu's true form was not that of the Dragon Tribe, but that of a human. A human actually had so much Dragon Tribe's origin mystique and Dragon Tribe's bloodline? Why is Aodi not here? After looking at Qin Yu for a while, the ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow from the Dragon Tribe from the outside world finally remembered Aodi. According to the plan, Aoba should have taken over Aodi's body. Aodi was sealed by him, and the Dragon Emperor's inheritance disappeared. Aoba said weakly. In order to summon the ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow, he had paid the price of burning his dragon blood. That price was so great that it was even greater than the injuries caused by Qin Yu. If not for the Dragon Emperor's inheritance, Aoba would never have used this forbidden technique. Who are you? The ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow's gaze once again fell on Qin Yu. The Dragon Emperor's inheritance was very important to the Dragon Tribe from the outside world, and Aodi was related to the appearance of the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. Therefore, Aodi's inheritance must not fall into the hands of others. Boom. What answered him was a divine spear surrounded by purple lightning that pierced through the air. In the eyes of other Emperor Realm masters, the ancient Emperor Realm might be a high and mighty existence. However, Qin Yu was not a simple Emperor Realm master. Moreover, this ancient emperor from the Dragon Tribe from the outside world did not come with his real body, but was just a phantom. With Qin Yu's current combat strength, he naturally would not be afraid of a mere ancient emperor phantom. Therefore, Qin Yu did not waste any time and directly attacked. Courting death. The ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow's eyes flashed coldly as he flicked his finger. Rays of cyan-colored dragon light, like a waterfall, broke through the void and swept toward Qin Yu. In an instant, the space around Qin Yu was completely sealed. 8 trigrams Battle Dragon Spear. Qin Yu's attack did not stop and did not change. The 8 trigrams Battle Dragon array gathered on his body. Countless dragon inscriptions appeared on the long spear that pierced out. There were so many dragon inscriptions that it was as if the long spear had grown dragon scales. Boom. The spear shadows were like stars falling from the sky, piercing through the incoming azure dragon light and shattering it. Every time the azure dragon light was shattered, Qin Yu's body trembled violently. A vast amount of enormous destructive energy was pouring into Qin Yu's body from those cyan-colored dragon lights. However, Qin Yu's body only trembled and did not suffer any injuries. A mere human has such a strong physical body. The ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow's eyes revealed a hint of surprise. His attack just now contained a hidden force that could severely injure a human divine emperor. However, Qin Yu was unharmed after taking on the hidden force. The strength of his physical body could be said to be terrifying. Supreme Elder, this person can activate the power of the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb. Aodi and Ao Xie immediately reminded the ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow. No, however, Aoba's eyes narrowed slightly as he sized up Qin Yu with a serious gaze. He can activate the power of the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb, but the hidden force just now, the ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow thought to himself. The hidden force in his attack just now was directly offset by Qin Yu's physical body and not by the power of the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb. Chapter 583. Qin Yu's cultivation was far from reaching the Divine Emperor level, but his physical body was so strong. This was rare among the human race. Even among the extraterritorial dragon tribe. There was no Emperor-level dragon clan member who could forge such an astonishing physical body. Tyrant Dragon battles the heavens. Qin Yu ignored the ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow's surprise. After breaking through the attack, he immediately pounced forward. This time around, on the pitch-black dragon scales on Qin Yu's body, cyan-colored dragon marks could be clearly seen. Those dragon patterns were not random. Every 8 dragon patterns formed an 8 trigrams dragon pattern array. Roar. A spear pierced through the air, and a deafening dragon roar resounded through the sky. A dazzling spear light that was dozens of feet long tore through the void and blasted out. At this moment, a clear energy from the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb was triggered and merged into the dazzling spear light. Oh no! The ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow, who was about to attack, suddenly changed his expression. He immediately shot out 3 light circles, imprisoning Aoba, Ao Li, and Ao Xie. The void shook slightly, and Aoba and the other 2 immediately disappeared. Crack! In the next moment, a clear explosion was heard. The spear light pierced through the dragon's might ancient seal that Aoba had created by burning his dragon blood. The extraterritorial dragon tribe's ancient Emperor Dragon Shadow became weaker. Qin Yu's spear attack just now. Not only had it triggered the power of the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb, but it had also triggered the power of the Dragon Emperor spirit. Even the ancient Emperor realm extraterritorial Dragon Shadow could not withstand such an attack. Of course, if the ancient Emperor realm extraterritorial Dragon Shadow was here, the situation would be different. The Dragon Emperor's legacy can only be inherited by the Dragon tribe. At the last moment, the ancient Emperor Shadow shouted coldly. Dragon light flashed all over his body, condensing into an ancient dragon light that pierced through the sky. Poochie. The dragon light was like a shooting star, disappearing in an instant. Qin Yu's body trembled, and a bloody hole appeared on his body. Fortunately, at that critical moment, Qin Yu formed the heaven-devouring dragon seal and swallowed more than half of the dragon light. Otherwise, Qin Yu's entire body would have been pierced through. Even so, Qin Yu's injuries were not light. The power contained within that dragon light was incomparable to the hidden forces from before. What a pity. The dragon soul appeared and looked at Aoba and the other 2 who were running away. It was extremely regretful. He didn't know how long it would take for him to encounter 3 transformed dragons again. Fortunately, it's not like we didn't gain anything. Qin Yu also had a somewhat regretful expression on his face. However, that was all. Luckily, the Dragon Emperor's tomb had strong restrictions and only an ancient Emperor's shadow had come. If his true self had come, Qin Yu would have suffered more than just some injuries. In any case, the harvest this time was already quite bountiful. Not only did he see the Dragon Emperor's inheritance, but he also sealed the illusory Umbra Dragon Ao Ying and the immemorial Ice Crystal Dragon Aodi. Thinking of Aodi, Qin Yu's mind flickered, and a figure appeared in a flash of light. It was Aodi, who had been trapped in the ancient seal of the divine dragon. The dragon spirit's power that had fused into Qin Yu's spear light was Aodi's own little dragon spirit's power. It is said that the Dragon God Emperor, apart from mastering countless dragon tribes' mystiques, had also created several supreme secret techniques. I remember one of them was able to use the 8 trigrams battle formation to condense dragon power. After Aodi appeared, although he was still trapped, he didn't panic at all and spoke slowly. In your current situation, is there any point in finding out if I'm the Dragon God Emperor? Qin Yu looked at Aodi calmly. Although Aodi had helped him defeat the ancient Emperor's shadow in the battle just now. But Qin Yu wouldn't let Aodi go just because of that. Their alliance had already ended when they entered the Dragon Emperor's tomb. If Qin Yu fell into Aodi's hands now, Qin Yu didn't think that Aodi would let him go after suspecting that he was the Dragon God Emperor. That's indeed meaningless. Anyway, I've already confirmed my guess. Now, let's talk about some serious matters. Aodi smiled and said, "The Dragon Emperor's inheritance is right in front of you. You won't let it go just like that, right?" "Of course." Qin Yu was slightly flabbergasted. For Aodi to have such a reaction, could it be that he still had some sort of trump card? "Then, we can join forces again," Aodi said. "You and I are not on the same level now," Qin Yu said calmly. When martial artists joined forces, they would either have the same strength or the same bargaining chips. And now, Aodi was completely in Qin Yu's hands. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that his life was in Qin Yu's hands. Under such circumstances, Qin Yu naturally wouldn't join forces with Aodi. "Only I can summon the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. If you want to get the Dragon Emperor's inheritance, you'll have to borrow my strength," Aodi said calmly when he heard that. "If it's the Dragon Emperor's inheritance, it won't be a problem as long as I possess you." Before Aoba and the other two dealt with Aodi, Qin Yu had already arrived. Therefore, Qin Yu knew that Aoba wanted to possess Aodi and summon the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. "The premise is that you can successfully possess me." As he spoke, a golden dragon scale appeared in between Aodi's eyebrows. The dragon scale was extremely ancient and it seemed to contain an immortal will that came from the ancient times. This fluctuation, Qin Yu's eyes flickered when he saw the golden dragon scale. There was a strong fluctuation of soul power in the golden dragon scale. It was the fluctuation of Aodi's dragon soul. Qin Yu pointed his finger and a ray of light shot into the golden dragon scale. After a while, Qin Yu's body trembled and he took a few steps back in the air. That golden dragon scale contained a vast and unparalleled will. Qin Yu was hit by the boundless will just now. How can his dragon soul be so powerful? The dragon soul also sensed it and was extremely surprised. "You merged with the Dragon Emperor's soul?" Qin Yu stared at the golden dragon scale for a while and then looked at Aodi. "To be precise, I should have awakened the origin soul seed left by my ancestor. Therefore, no matter who it is, they can't possess me. Moreover, if I really want to kill myself, no one can stop me," Aodi said. This was also the reason why he didn't panic when Aoba used a secret technique to possess him. If Aoba really used a trick against him, Aoba would definitely be the one at a disadvantage. Qin Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. This change was beyond his expectations. The most important thing in possessing a physical body was to devour the host's soul. However, from the dragon soul power in the golden dragon scale, it was extremely difficult to possess a physical body. If he forcefully possessed a physical body, Aodi would most likely fight to the death. "Let's hear the conditions." After pondering for a while, Qin Yu said to Aodi, "My goal is to use my ancestors' inheritance to establish the Eternal Dragon Nation and unify the extraterritorial dragon tribe. Therefore, if you can achieve my goal, I will submit to you," Aodi said solemnly when he heard this. Chapter 584. If you submit to me first, I can help you achieve your goal. However, if you want me to unify the extraterritorial dragon tribe before submitting to you, then we have nothing to talk about. Qin Yu's expression did not change much when he saw Aodi's solemn expression. Qin Yu had already known that Aodi wanted to create another eternal dragon nation when he had subdued the purple thunder divine firmament dragon. Therefore, Qin Yu was not surprised by Aodi's condition. In fact, it was not difficult for Qin Yu to create another eternal dragon nation. However, it was not easy to unify the extraterritorial dragon tribe. The extraterritorial dragon tribe had an ancient emperor. This meant that Qin Yu had to reach the ancient emperor realm. Moreover, the extraterritorial dragon tribe had been in the extraterritorial dragon tribe for so many years. Who knew if they had anything to do with the extraterritorial dragon tribe? Therefore, Aodi's condition had to be built on the premise that he had to submit to him first. Otherwise, Qin Yu would rather give up the Dragon Emperor's inheritance and directly imprison Aodi's bloodline origin. If Aodi wanted to commit suicide, Qin Yu might not be able to stop him. However, if Qin Yu wanted to imprison Aodi's bloodline origin, the current Aodi would definitely be helpless. "As long as you and I set the dragon curse on each other, I will submit to you first." Aodi agreed after pondering for a moment. Aodi was very clear about his own situation. Even if he had the Dragon Emperor's inheritance as a bargaining chip, Qin Yu would not let him go so easily. Therefore, Aodi had already accepted his fate. He proposed the condition of joining forces to obtain the greatest benefit. Of course, there was another reason why Aodi had decided to submit to Qin Yu. He had confirmed that Qin Yu was indeed the reincarnation of the Dragon God Emperor. The Dragon God Emperor from 1,000 years ago was the closest existence to the Dragon Emperor. If Aodi wanted to take revenge on the extraterritorial dragon tribe and unify the extraterritorial dragon tribe, Qin Yu would be the best help. Although submitting to him would mean losing his freedom, it was a good decision in terms of the pros and cons, alright. The Dragon Clan's curse was similar to the ancient heart demon curse of martial artists. Therefore, Qin Yu did not have any objections. The two of them immediately cast the dragon curse at each other, and Aodi officially submitted to Qin Yu. According to the origin dragon blood that I've awakened, there should be 3 legacies left behind by my ancestors. One was the bloodline legacy, one was the Dragon Emperor Heavenly Soul, and the last was the Astral Dragon Nation. The bloodline inheritance contained the strongest origin divine ability of the ancestor. The Dragon Emperor's Heavenly Soul was the supreme dragon soul that his ancestor had refined. As for the Starry Sky Dragon Nation, it was formed after our ancestors refined the Starry Sky. After casting the Dragon Tribe curse, Aodi summoned the Dragon Emperor's inheritance and spoke to Qin Yu. Dragon Soul, Heaven Soul? Inside the Divine Dragon Ancient Seal, the Dragon Soul's eyes suddenly lit up. The Dragon Emperor of the past was most likely an immortal great dragon. How powerful was the Dragon Soul he left behind? For a Dragon Soul that was originally a soul body, it was naturally the best tonic. The bloodline inheritance is yours. I want the Dragon Emperor's celestial soul and the cosmic dragon kingdom, Qin Yu heard and said to Aodi. You are not a pure dragon. The Dragon Emperor's celestial soul is not very useful to you. Aodi felt strange and said. He had thought that Qin Yu would be interested in the bloodline inheritance and the cosmic dragon nation. He did not expect Qin Yu to want the Dragon Emperor's celestial soul. I have my own uses for it. Qin Yu did not give in. Aodi had great potential. In the future, he might be able to become an immortal great dragon. However, the dragon soul that was born in one body with Qin Yu was more important to Qin Yu. Alright. Seeing this, Aodi did not say anything. After all, Qin Yu had placed a restriction on him. Appear. Aodi shouted after changing his hand seals, and the golden dragon scale between his eyebrows lit up. A deafening explosion resounded through the sky. A beam of golden light descended from the Dragon Emperor's inheritance and landed on Aodi. After the golden light flashed, Aodi and Qin Yu disappeared. After a brief moment of darkness, Qin Yu and Aodi appeared in a vast starry sky. The cosmic dragon nation. Qin Yu's eyes lit up. In this vast starry sky, there were countless golden dragon shadows that were subdued. These were the Dragon Emperor's dragon origin energy. In the center of this vast starry sky, there was a golden ball of light that looked like the sun. Through the golden ball of light, one could see a golden figure that was emitting a mighty dragon aura. Aodi flew in front of the golden ball of light. His eyes seemed to be burning with flames. That golden figure was the Dragon Emperor's bloodline inheritance. It contained the Dragon Emperor's divine origin energy. With a loud dragon roar, Aodi revealed his true form and rushed into the golden figure. In an instant, the golden figure quickly merged with Aodi, and it didn't take long for them to completely merge into one. However, Aodi did not appear from the golden ball of light. His eyes were closed. Golden divine light shone from his body as if he had entered a meditative state. Over there. At this moment, the dragon soul also appeared from the ancient seal of the mystical dragon and quickly flew to somewhere in the cosmic dragon nation. There was a golden dragon soul that covered the sky. Its mighty dragon aura suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 lands. That golden dragon soul was the Dragon Emperor's celestial soul that the Dragon Emperor had left behind. Suppress. Qin Yu did not hesitate. With a low roar, the ancient seal of the mystical dragon appeared. Roar. Vaguely, an ancient dragon roar could be heard from the ancient seal of the mystical dragon. It seemed to have come from ancient times. The Dragon Emperor's celestial soul seemed to have sensed it. It trembled slightly and emitted a mighty dragon aura. However, in front of the ancient seal of the mystical dragon, the Dragon Emperor's celestial soul was quickly suppressed. The dragon soul rushed out excitedly and fused with the golden dragon soul. Seal. Seeing this, Qin Yu controlled the ancient seal of the mystical dragon and kept the Dragon Emperor's celestial soul in the ancient seal. Next, Qin Yu began to look around the cosmic dragon nation. His eyes were burning with passion. Although the Dragon Emperor had created the eternal dragon nation, it had collapsed when the Dragon Emperor passed away. However, the cosmic dragon nation was the core of the eternal dragon nation. For Qin Yu, who wanted to create the real eternal dragon nation, this was a priceless treasure. All this while, Qin Yu had used the Dragon Soul's origin dragon world to contain the other dragons. The Dragon Soul's origin dragon world was a chaotic dragon world that could suppress ordinary dragons. However, the Dragon Soul's origin dragon world could not be considered the real eternal dragon nation. Now that he had the cosmic dragon nation, Qin Yu could create the real eternal dragon nation. Qin Yu looked at it for a long time. Then, he formed seals with his hands. Beams of divine light shone from Qin Yu's body. There were so many of them that they seemed endless. After the divine light appeared, they merged with the cosmic dragon nation. Vaguely, one could see stars in the starry sky. They shone faintly. However, the more divine light merged, the brighter the stars became. Not long after, the entire Star Dragon country was illuminated by the stars in the sky. Ancient battle dragon art, cultivate. Qin Yu, who had been ready, immediately activated the ancient battle dragon art. Dark green dragon scales appeared all over his body. Chapter 585. Rumble. As Qin Yu circulated the ancient battle dragon art, the entire starry sky dragon nation trembled. The bright stars in the sky gradually turned into dragon scales. Above the starry sky, an ancient and mysterious shadow of Shenron appeared. Dragon Nation mark. Qin Yu raised his head and looked to that divine dragon's silhouette. His eyes were shining. According to Audi, the Shenron shadow was the Dragon Nation mark left behind by the former Dragon Emperor. As long as he refined the Dragon Nation mark, he would be able to completely control the starry sky dragon nation. Dragon capture technique. Qin Yu did not hesitate. His hands formed a series of seals as he performed the ancient battle dragon art. Immediately, a pure soul mark appeared between Qin Yu's eyebrows and merged with the Shenron shadow. Qin Yu sat cross-legged and closed his eyes. His mind was immersed in the Shenron shadow. Not long after, an extremely mysterious and ancient Dao technique fluctuation appeared in Qin Yu's consciousness. However, the Dao technique fluctuation was extremely chaotic. It crazily attacked Qin Yu's soul. Fortunately, Qin Yu's soul had recovered to the level of an ancient emperor after he reached the emperor realm. No matter how the chaotic Dao technique energy attacked, it could not shake Qin Yu's soul. On the contrary, relying on his powerful soul energy, Qin Yu rapidly digested those chaotic Daoist techniques. It took Qin Yu a full 7 days to completely refine the Dragon Nation imprint. During these 7 days, Aodi was still in a meditative state. The Dragon Soul was also refining the Dragon Emperor's celestial soul. Judging from their appearances, it would be difficult for them to finish in a short time. Appear. After refining the Dragon Nation mark and gaining control of the starry sky Dragon Nation, Qin Yu shouted. The Dragon Soul's origin dragon world appeared. Majestic chaotic dragon chi spread out. Roar. Vaguely, a dragon's roar could be heard from the Dragon Nation mark. The chaotic dragon chi of the Dragon Soul's origin dragon world immediately merged with the Dragon Nation mark. Under the fusion of the two, the starry sky dragon nation shrank rapidly with Qin Yu as the center. It looked as if the starry sky dragon nation was being compressed by a terrifying force. The majestic dragon chi of the origin flowed through Qin Yu's limbs and into the chaotic dragon world. Bang! When the starry sky dragon nation shrank to 100 feet in size, a loud bang suddenly. The entire starry sky dragon country exploded and turned into a sky full of starlight, scattering around Qin Yu. The next moment, the dragon energy on Qin Yu's body surged, and all the starlight was completely devoured. At this point, the star dragon country and the chaotic dragon world were perfectly integrated into one. The starry sky dragon nation. With a somewhat excited expression, Qin Yu immediately entered the chaotic dragon realm with an intention. Dragon domain was dragon world, dragon world. Chaotic dragon chi filled the air, and there were countless mountains and rivers. It was like a paradise on earth. Within the primal chaos dragon aura, there were countless golden dragon auras floating. Dragon Lei Kuang of the purple lightning divine firmament and Dragon Fen Yu of the golden flames had already passed the shape-shifting lightning tribulation. They transformed into their true forms and absorbed the golden dragon chi madly. The Dragon Emperor's original dragon power was a divine item that could allow them to be reborn. Aodi, who was still meditating, was also thrown into the Starry Sky Dragon Nation by Qin Yu. After leaving the Starry Sky Dragon Nation, Qin Yu returned to the Dragon Emperor's tomb. Although Qin Yu had obtained the Dragon Emperor's inheritance, he did not leave. Qin Yu opened his right hand, and a black light flashed. Ao Ying, who had used the Dragon Emperor godly sealing technique to seal himself in the black crystal, appeared. Qin Yu had only sealed Ao Ying because he had to find the Dragon Emperor's inheritance and deal with the other dragons. Now that Aodi had submitted, he had obtained the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. Qin Yu planned to use this opportunity to break Ao Ying's secret skill and refine its origin dragon vein. The Dragon Emperor's tomb could not be found in the outside world, and it could not be entered. This was the best place for Qin Yu to cultivate in seclusion. After leaving the Dragon Emperor's tomb, Qin Yu would go to the East Continent and prepare to deal with the other ancient emperors. After refining Ao Ying and Aodi's dragon blood, Qin Yu's cultivation would reach an astonishing level. At that time, even if he could not fight against an ancient emperor, however, divine emperors would no longer pose any threat to Qin Yu. Origin splitting technique. Without hesitation, Qin Yu, who already had a plan in mind, immediately used a supreme secret skill. A pale grey ray of light flashed across the dark crystal. Crack. There was an almost undetectable cracking sound. A clear crack appeared in the black crystal. After the crack appeared, it spread out like a spider web at an incredible speed. Soon, the entire black crystal was covered in cracks. Ao Ying, who had sealed himself inside, seemed to sense danger. His black dragon scales flashed. Break. With a bang, the pitch-black crystal suddenly exploded. At this moment, Ao Ying suddenly woke up. He immediately used his mystique, the Thousand Shadows illusion Dao, and prepared to escape. Unfortunately, Qin Yu was already prepared. He used a supreme dragon technique. Ao Ying's origin dragon vein was directly captured by Qin Yu. How is this possible? With his bloodline stolen, Aodi's origin mystique was destroyed. His aura weakened, and he fell from the sky. Ao Ying, who had been sealed by Qin Yu again, stared at Qin Yu in a daze. His eyes were filled with disbelief. To be able to capture his origin dragon vein in an instant was beyond Ao Ying's knowledge. Even among the experts in the extraterritorial races, there was no expert who could do this. Devour. Qin Yu activated the immemorial battle dragon art, and the divine dragon ancient seal trembled slightly. Ao Ying's origin dragon vein was immediately captured by the divine dragon ancient seal, turning into surging dragon chi. The dragon chi was so majestic that it was like the sea, as if it was endless. Asterisk peng peng peng. Asterisk as the endless stream of dragon aura poured into Qin Yu's body, a series of intense explosions sounded from his body. That was the battle dragon's true essence, which had skyrocketed in a short period of time. Qin Yu's cyan-grade main dragon vein and 90-branch dragon veins were all trembling at this moment. Ao Ying was also considered a descendant of the Dragon Emperor. The strength of his origin dragon vein was far above bloodthirsty Shuo Tian Long Xian Hai. Qin Yu had just started to refine the dragon blood, but his cultivation had already skyrocketed. The speed was so terrifying that it was as if he had been infused with true essence. while the immemorial battle dragon art was circulating and refining the origin dragon blood. Countless mysterious Tao techniques also appeared in Qin Yu's mind one after another. Although Qin Yu had reached the peak of the ancient emperor realm in his previous life, cultivating Tao techniques again was many times easier than other emperor realm masters. But even so, it was still extremely difficult to comprehend the power of Tao. This was also the reason why Qin Yu's cultivation progress was extremely slow after he had reached the emperor realm. But now, the originally mysterious and unfathomable Tao techniques had become clear and transparent. It was as if the Tao techniques had been broken down and opened up in front of Qin Yu without reservation. Rumble. Under the double surge of Tao techniques and Battle Dragon's true essence, Qin Yu's cultivation increased crazily. 2 hours later, he reached the early 3rd grade Emperor realm. 6 hours later, he reached the mid 3rd grade Emperor realm. 14 hours later, he reached the late 3rd grade Emperor realm. Then, 4th grade Emperor realm, 5th grade Emperor realm, 6th grade Emperor realm, 7th grade Emperor realm. Chapter 586. 49 days later, it wasn't until he reached the late stage of the 7th grade Emperor realm that the surging true Qi and Tao in Qin Yu's body gradually calmed down. In less than 50 days, his cultivation had broken through 4 grades from the 3rd grade Emperor realm to the 7th grade Emperor realm. If such a shocking increase in cultivation were to spread, it would definitely shock countless people. One had to know that it was extremely normal for an Emperor realm master to have no progress even after hundreds of years. Qin Yu, on the other hand, had used the ancient battle dragon art to refine the dragon blood, and his cultivation had taken a huge leap to become a high-level Emperor realm master. Of course, Qin Yu wasn't just blindly increasing his cultivation this time. Qin Yu had always valued his foundation, and he hadn't forgotten about it. The cyan grade dragon vein in Qin Yu's body was now faintly blue. This meant that Qin Yu's main dragon vein had reached the 6th grade blue grade. As for the sub-dragon vein, it had increased by 50, reaching a total of 140. Qin Yu's current main dragon vein and sub-dragon vein had completely surpassed his previous life. When the main dragon vein reached the blue grade, and the sub-dragon vein broke through the 100th mark, Qin Yu clearly felt that his physique had undergone a huge transformation. It was difficult to pinpoint exactly what had changed in his body. However, it made Qin Yu feel comfortable all over. It was as if all the impurities in his body had been cleansed. 8 trigrams Battle Dragon. In addition to the increase in cultivation and aptitude, among the 9 great secret techniques of the ancient Battle Dragon art, he had also officially comprehended the 4th move, 8 trigrams Battle Dragon. This surprised Qin Yu quite a bit. After all, in his previous life, he had only comprehended the 8 trigrams Battle Dragon when he reached the ancient Emperor realm. Now, he was only a 7th grade Emperor realm master, but he had actually comprehended the 8 trigrams Battle Dragon. It seemed that the comprehension of the 9 secrets of the Battle Dragon had a lot to do with the main dragon vein and the sub-dragon vein. Azure Dragon Battle, Heaven-Devouring Dragon Seal, Divine Dragon Body, 8 trigrams Battle Dragon. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. With the cultivation of a late-stage 7th grade Emperor realm master and the 4 trigrams Battle Dragon secret techniques, Qin Yu was now completely confident that he could fight a divine emperor. If supported by various kinds of formations, Qin Yu's combat strength would have a huge leap. In fact, Qin Yu felt that he could even fight against an ancient emperor if he had the right time, place, and people. After restraining the berserk fluctuations of the Tao technique on his body, Qin Yu's thoughts moved. 2 gigantic dragons that blotted out the sky appeared. One was suffused with bloodthirsty killing intent, while the other was flickering with dreamy black light. It was bloodthirsty sky dragon, Xian Hai, and Ao Ying. Disperse. Qin Yu broke the seals in Xian Hai and Ao Ying's bodies, allowing their consciousness to return to normal. Ao Ying. Xian Hai, who had just regained consciousness, was about to go berserk when he suddenly saw Ao Ying. Xian Hai's memories were still stuck at the time when Qin Yu had made him submit. Now that he saw Ao Ying appear in the blink of an eye, he was still in a daze. As expected. On the other hand, Ao Ying was not surprised that Xian Hai was imprisoned by Qin Yu. When she had fought with Qin Yu earlier, Ao Ying had sensed the fluctuations of the Xian Hai's dragon vein in Qin Yu's body. Ao Ying, is the Dragon Emperor here too? Xian Hai quickly asked Ao Ying through voice transmission. His eyes were extremely bright as he came back to his senses. Ao Ying was the Dragon Emperor Aoba's true confidant. She had been in charge of the intelligence of the extraterritorial races. Ao Ying would not appear here for no reason unless she had followed the Dragon Emperor here. The Dragon Emperor should have left. Ao Ying stared at Qin Yu cautiously. She did not know Aoba's exact situation. But since she could no longer sense Aoba's aura in the Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb, there was a high chance that Aoba had already left. Ao Ying could only hope that Aoba had left after obtaining the Dragon Emperor's inheritance. In that case, their efforts would not be in vain. Of course, to Ao Ying, the most important thing was to find a way to deal with Qin Yu. Not only could he break the Dragon Emperor's self-sealing technique, but he could also take away his dragon vein. In Ao Ying's heart, Qin Yu was even more difficult to deal with than Aoba. He left. The light in Xian Hai's eyes froze. Aoba did not know that he was in Qin Yu's hands. It was normal that he did not help him. But Aoba had actually left Ao Ying behind. This was something that Xian Hai could not understand. The two of you have talked for so long. Why don't we get down to business? At this moment, Qin Yu spoke, interrupting Xian Hai and Ao Ying's conversation. I've said it before. It's impossible for me to submit to you. Xian Hai's eyes seemed to be filled with blood, but they were still filled with murderous intent. What about you? Are you not willing to submit to me? Qin Yu looked at Xian Hai, then shifted his gaze to Ao Ying. I am the descendant of the Dragon Emperor. I will never submit to you humans. Under Qin Yu's calm and indifferent gaze, Ao Ying's eyelids trembled slightly. For some reason, the current Qin Yu gave him a sense of danger that was many times stronger than before. But even so, Ao Ying still would not submit to Qin Yu. In the history of the Dragon Clan, there were countless Dragon clansmen who had fallen in the hands of human powerhouses. But there were very few Dragon clansmen who submitted to humans. The noble dignity of the Dragon clan flowed in their bones. They would not easily submit to other clans. If that's the case, then there's no other way. Qin Yu did not say any more nonsense. The current him was no longer the cultivation that suppressed the bloodthirsty heavenly dragon back then. With the 7th grade Emperor realm and the 4 secrets of the battle dragon, Qin Yu had the means to directly control them. Swoosh, swoosh. Before he finished speaking, Qin Yu suddenly attacked. 2 mysterious divine seals appeared, as fast as shooting stars. Before Ao Ying and Xian Hai could react, they entered their bodies. Ang 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 ang. Immediately, violent dragon roars filled with pain resounded through the 9 heavens. The entire Dragon Emperor's ancient tomb trembled slightly. Ao Ying and Xian Hai's dragon souls were entangled by the 2 mysterious ancient divine seals. No matter how Ao Ying and Xian Hai struggled, they could not break free from the 2 ancient divine seals. They could only watch as their dragon souls were merged by the 2 divine seals. Not long after, the berserk dragon roar gradually grew softer. Ao Ying and Xian Hai's eyes became dim, as if they had lost their spirit. If one looked closely, they would discover. In the depths of Ao Ying and Xian Hai's dragon eyes, there was an ancient divine seal looming. The ancient divine seal emitted a mysterious light. The light spread out and seeped into the depths of the 2 dragon souls. Soul Dragon Technique. One of the supreme dragon techniques that Qin Yu had created in his previous life. It could completely control the Dragon Clan's soul. But this secret technique required the support of a strong cultivation base. This was also the reason why Qin Yu had only used the bloodthirsty heavenly dragon Xian Hai now. Moreover, if Ao Ying and Xian Hai were not willing to submit, Qin Yu was not willing to use the soul dragon technique on them. Qin Yu had never thought of creating the eternal dragon country in his previous life. So, the soul dragon technique that he created was to use forceful means to control the Dragon Clan as puppets. And this way, it would definitely hurt the Dragon Clan's foundation. Ao Ying and Xian Hai's aptitude was originally not inferior to Fen Yu and Lei Kwong. They were even more outstanding. But now, although the 2 of them could still cultivate and become stronger. But in terms of potential, they were far inferior to Fen Yu and Lei Kuang.